Club. Packed house here in the clubhouse. Lucas Panzica's out here. Will Bowling.
How's everyone doing today?
Kirby, Allen Kirby. Don't make it sad. Don't do that. Let's not, please. I hope you had a fantastic weekend. We're happy to be out here, as are all of the shows throughout the course of today. Special thanks to Southern Trophy House, TriStar Beverage, King & Associates, Seymour Putters, so many more who make the 104.5 The Zone 2022 Summer Golf Classic possible. All right, we got news off the top. You want to play the laser light show that I hate? Do you want to give me the terrible imaging?
Breaking Titans news on 104.5 The Zone.
Where you want to start? Because I got a bunch.
There's a few.
It's cut day, kids. The Grim Reaper is out in the locker rooms, and he's already taken a few heads on the Titans roster. We got Brett Kern, the longest tenured player on the roster, 13 years with the Tennessee Titans. He is cut, according to Adam Schefter, and I can confirm that. As of this morning, they have also released a few depth players. Offensive lineman Willie Wright, Adrian Colbert, who was one of the 75 safeties that they brought in the last 2 weeks, and Hayden Howerton, center guard. So some offensive depth, one of the most important players that the franchise has had in the last decade of football. In fact, Taylor Lewan is now the longest tenured Titan, which is crazy to think about.
Brett Kern has been a Tennessee Titan since 2009.
Buddy, this kind of stinks.
Lewan's the longest tenured Titan, but we're talking Jeff Fisher era.
Long.
With Kern.
I want him to write a book, and we'll see where he ends up, because Buffalo obviously brought in a bunch of punters yesterday. They did not sign anyone. They're keeping their options open, it would look like. And so, if Brett Kern gets a Super Bowl ring out of this, because he's headed to the Buffalo Bills, and that's the Super Bowl favorite, and they are certainly one of the most overwhelming teams in the AFC this year, good on him. He's from there. I'm pretty sure his parents still live there. And there's worse places. I don't know about logistically. I don't think Buffalo sounds like the greatest place to live.
Well, Brett Kern went to college at Toledo, so I think he's lived in worse places than Buffalo.
He's used to gray landscapes of the Midwest, is what you're saying?
That's
all right.
Correct. And I've been to Toledo recently, and I can't confirm. I've never been to Buffalo, but I'm going to go ahead and confirm Toledo is worse than Buffalo.
I'm going to Buffalo in week 2. We've got people now fake tweeting roster changes per sources. Derrick Henry has made the Titans 53-man roster. The King is back, if anybody was wondering. Brett Kern, so it was kind of emotional. Saturday night, they obviously had the preseason game. Titans win, whatever, preseason, it doesn't matter. Thank God we're all through it. We can actually talk about games that matter. But with the situation for Kern, it was super sentimental, super emotional, because he dressed, but he didn't play. And we were talking about it in pregame, Blaine and Mickey and myself on the Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff. We were talking about the idea that, is this the last time that we see Brett Kern in Nissan Stadium? And it just kind of felt, it felt weird, because he had his oldest son, Bryce, who's always around at practice, in the locker room with him afterwards when we were all going through and interviewing these guys after the preseason game. And Brett, who spoke to a handful of us who caught up with him in the locker room, I think he was feeling it a little bit.
I mean, 5 different head coaches Brett Kern has gone through with the Tennessee Titans. And how many other franchises in the NFL would elicit an emotional response from the fan base after cutting a punter, regardless of how long that punter has been there? But for a long time, Mickey talked about it last week, when the Titans came out of that tunnel, it was Jarrell Casey on one side of the ball, and then Brett Kern on special teams and Delaney Walker on offense, and that was it. That was all you had to carry the torch for the Tennessee Titans when they were going, 2-14, 3-12, or 3-13 all those years. So, I mean, he
was one of the 3 players that made them matter when they didn't.
He was one of the faces of the franchise. That's crazy to say as a punter. But
no, he's on the banner on the side of the stadium. He's the MVP punter.
How many years running has Brett Kern been on the banner on the side of Nissan Stadium?
Well, actually, I don't know the answer to that question.
I mean, as long as I can, I feel like every time I looked at that stadium in the last few years, he was up there. So, tough to see him go, but also tough knowing that it was probably the right decision.
No, for sure. Ryan Stonehouse looked great on Saturday, and that's the reality of the situation. We talked to Brett Kern in the locker room afterwards about a variety of different things. This is the now former Titans punter.
I feel like I've hit the ball well this camp, and Stoney's obviously done really, really well. So just kind of understand how the business works, and we'll see what happens.
When did you know this camp was different from a competition standpoint?
Oh, I knew it was different when I first saw him punt a ball in April. I knew that it was going to be a grind. I've told him I've been in the league a long time, and I've seen about 3 or 4 people in my entire life hit a ball like he does. So I knew it was going to be hard. I knew what he was really good at. I'm probably not, and what I'm really good at, he just needs some work on it. So it was just kind of back and forth a lot, and gave it all I had, and we'll see what happens.
So gave it all he had, but didn't get an opportunity to play in the last preseason game, and a lot of Titans fans aren't going to get to say bye to Brett Kern. Now, according to Spot Track, because of course everybody, has their emotional moment, and then we all move on to look at money and rosters and things like that, because that's how the NFL works. And nobody is more, I think, cognizant of that than Brett Kern. But it's about $550,000 of dead cap. Titans are freeing up $2.2 million worth of space, which obviously allows them to kind of get back in the mix in a post-roster cut free agency cycle at some positions of need, whether it's safety, whether it's offensive line. These are the kind of things that they'll start to monitor, and they're going to make cuts today and tomorrow while also practicing, according to Mike Vrabel.
And speaking of that, Justin Mello reporting a minute ago that the Titans are also releasing safety Tyree Gillespie, who they acquired via a trade with the Raiders like 2 weeks ago.
So that's going to be, there's a lot of different positions, and we're going to talk about what we definitively know about the roster now that this has moved on. But as far as, I'd be curious to know people's reaction. I didn't bother to ask for the number this morning. I might as well. 615-737-1045. The news of Brett Kern being cut. Do you think that based off what you've seen from Ryan Stonehouse, that this was the correct move? Emotions aside, in the best interest of the football team. Because we talked about this. I talked about this with a couple of different people in on the team and around the team and things like this. Was there any thought to kind of stashing Ryan Stonehouse? Just all of a sudden a mysterious groin injury pops up. You slide him through on the IR and keep Brett Kern on the roster, because we know that would never happen inside the spaces of a professional football locker room. I'm trying, Kirby. It's tough today. That's not helpful when you don't have a microphone.
He said spit it out.
I tried. Did you ever have that happen? Just brains buffering?
Yeah, just the words just stop. It's just a block.
They stop. But the thing, though, is Kirby knows my crutch, because I'll just keep trying to talk through it, and it never ends up working. What are you going to do?
You've cycled through a couple of crutches, which is good. You're evolving.
I'm trying to. Anyway, so do you believe that this was the right move? You save some money. You have some options now to play around on the roster. Again, I would expect them to cut below 53. I would expect them to cut below 53, which allows them the ability to pursue a couple of different players rather than just hacking off what they've already got on the roster and then being content with that. I think they're going to churn some players at some different positions, because what I know specifically about this roster, one of many things that we're going to talk about coming up next, is that their offensive line depth. Buddy, woo, no thank you.
How many years do you think Brett Kern would have had with the Titans?
One. One more year. I think this would have been it. I think this is it either way. And I don't know anything specific. But this is year 15 for him total. And I think that that's a nice kind of solid number. They're obviously competitive, or the Titans have been competitive in recent years. So if you make another playoff run, or you have another one and done, whatever, at least you can say that you ended it on a high note. Now, if he ends up going to Buffalo, and again, they win the Super Bowl, then right off into the sunset and go out at the height. Or you can do what a lot of other punters do. What was the name of the Cardinals punter? Do you know this off the top of your head? Andy Lee. He's 40 years old.
Right. That's right.
Brett's only 36.
He is the only player in the NFL over 40 not named Tom Brady.
Right. So, punters can do that. Vinatieri did it forever. The specialists, or at least the kickers, more specifically, they have the ability to kind of prolong that if they want to. But I think, Brett's got 3 kids now. He wants to make sure that he's around and present and things like that. And I think, the strain of just the general NFL day-to-day, even though the punter's job and life is not that stressful, I think he's been thinking this is coming for a little while now.
Messiah in the YouTube chat says, damn, Kern is really gone. Feels like the time I had to flush my goldfish. An emotional time for all of Nashville today.
I don't think. Can we not compare it to flushing a goldfish? Can we? Can we come up a little like not? Let's give Brett Kern a little more credit than the goldfish that probably lasted 36 hours.
The sentiment is there.
Okay,
it's a metaphor.
Did you cry when you flushed your first goldfish?
No. We had a beta fish, and he committed suicide. He just hopped right out of his bowl when I was cleaning his bowl, and he went right down the drain. It was very traumatic for me as a child.
How old were you?
About 7.
What am I supposed to do? That's literally like you dropping the dead fish in my lap.
You asked me. I answered.
All right. Fish suicide and roster
Thanks
cuts.
for bringing that up.
That's what we've got going on a Monday morning. Your phone calls. We're going to talk about what we definitively know about this Titans roster. We'll do that. Your phone calls on that as well. Coming up next. Live from Greystone Golf Club, the 104.5 The Zone Summer Golf Classic, presented by Fight DMD, Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, Pepsi, Brentwood Hearing Center, the Atlanta Braves, Innovative Business Products, and so many more.
3H
Brett, what happened? What happened, Brett?
To what?
What do you mean just now?
I tried my best. I had 10 seconds to try and fix it.
Sink or swim?
No, that's not on Brett.
What do you mean?
And this is
I do that to you all the time.
This is a good song choice.
Thank you, Lucas.
This
In
is
remembrance
You're only
of Brett
semi
Kern's
off the
Titans
hook.
career.
yeah, this is in remembrance.
Welcome back. Live to the 104, live at the 104.5 The Zone 2022 Summer Golf Classic. I like doing the show at things like this because people talk to you off the mic while you're doing the show. Like Will Bowling, who has just done 4 hours of radio and is still trying to have his opinions heard. We'll throw a microphone at him later. But yes, we are out here courtesy of Nashville Soccer Club, Fistful of Bourbon, Uncle Bud's, which has just arrived with their food truck for lunch, the Nashville Predators, and so many more for the 104.5 The Zone Golf Classic. So the Kern thing is happening. Cuts across the league are happening. Have you seen any as significant as what just took place here with one of the biggest institutions that this franchise has had in the last decade plus?
No, Brett Kern is the most significant cut in the NFL today, so far.
Why do you think they did it today as opposed to tomorrow? Because Vrabel did say that they're going to practice tomorrow. They're in the building, obviously, today, because somebody's got to tell these guys that they're not coming back out, or at least they're not coming back out with their playbooks. Why Kern today as opposed to tomorrow? Do you think that it just gets swept up in tomorrow's news cycle because there's so many more things?
Yeah, maybe a courtesy to Brett Kern, too. I don't know, not to drag it out for another 24 hours.
That's
for
fair.
A franchise legend. I feel like if I'm going to have to relocate, if my job here is done after so many years, I want to know sooner than later, even if that's just one day. You don't want to sit there counting down, the minutes to cut day on Tuesday. Now, the guys that get cut on Tuesday will not be on the practice field on Tuesday, correct?
I don't know. He didn't clarify as far as timing, but now in the same way that you're talking about courtesy to somebody like Brett Kern.
Yeah, I don't know if that's why they did it, but I'm glad they did it today and not drag it out for another 24 hours.
Well, I would just say based on their current practice schedule, they would have to do it very, very early in the morning if they are going to do it before practice. But we'll see. We don't know. I mean, I still don't think we have the practice schedule because I think Mike hasn't made up his mind yet. Anyway, what we definitively know about the roster, well, we know that Ryan Stonehouse is now the punter.
Yep, that was going to be one of them at the top of my list.
That's how this is going to go at this point. And, to take a peek at the work that Stonehouse got in and how he kind of performed in the game on Saturday night, he had a handful of punts. He got the entirety of the opportunities, looking at 7 in total for an average of 49.4 yards. He had 2 touchbacks and 3 inside the 20, and he absolutely boomed one for 64 yards, which it had the full appeal. Like it showcased everything that he could do everything. And Randy Bullock attempted 2 field goals. He made both of them. Excuse me.
Yeah, long of 51.
Look at Randy out here drilling it. So like all the things that you need from the punter at a fraction of the cost is now the case for Ryan Stonehouse.
Yeah, you got to credit Stonehouse for the camp he's had. Like he's not just a big leg. He continued to do everything that they wanted to find out about him to make that decision, and he made it impossible for them not to cut him. Impossible for them to cut him.
And so we'll see where Kern lands, and we'll keep you updated as cuts become available throughout the course of the radio show, because I'm sure they're going to be pretty significant ones throughout the course of the day. And some guys that just got here, we talked about Tyree Gillespie and Adrian Colbert, some safety depth that they're already cutting. We asked Vrabel yesterday, basically, about getting, do you have enough time to properly evaluate the safeties on the roster, given that these dudes just got here? And basically was, we don't. That's the thing that kind of emphasizes how important it is for them to pop in the few days that they're there and to take advantage of their preseason game opportunities. And you saw a handful of guys getting some work in the preseason. Guys like Ugo Amadi. Do you think that Ugo Amadi's on this roster after what you saw from him off the street on Saturday?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Mike Vrabel spoke about him at his press conference yesterday. The versatility. I think they feel like they can already trust him, and the guy's barely been here for a week. I mean, when did they acquire Amadi? I don't think it has been a week.
Middle last week.
Yeah, and it feels like they're already talking about him in a very trusting light.
Well, let's hear Mike Vrabel talk about him, shall we?
You could just tell that he's played in there, Jimmy. He's played nickel. They kind of have a particular skill set they usually from team to team, it's all about the same stuff is what they're seeing and doing. I blitzed and batted, had a good ball disruption. I thought he tackled. I thought he tried to come in and support. Had some nice things in coverage, and then there was some separation at times in some man coverage when the route got to the other side, which sometimes happens. And so, for just getting here, I think he was into it. Had some good gunner reps. Did a nice job.
So that's Mike Vrabel yesterday. We did a day after press conference with Mike Vrabel, as we typically do, to ask him after he's had the opportunity to watch some tape back. And that is Mike Vrabel talking about the new addition, defensive back, mostly slot player for the Seattle Seahawks as a starter, Ugo Amadi of Overton High School fame. So what do we know definitively about the roster? You want me to start? You want to start?
You go ahead.
Okay. I think that I am cool with Malik Willis being the backup quarterback.
I agree.
I'm cool with it. I don't need to kind of look at what Malik can or can't do right now and say there's a situation where it's clearly and obviously a better option than Logan Woodside. I still think Logan Woodside ends up on the roster in some form or fashion should he clear waivers. There's no guarantee that he will, but we'll see. I think that what Malik has shown, the progress that he's made, and kind of the work that he's getting now in the preseason games, because the thing that popped to me the most about him on Saturday against the Cardinals is that the defense that they play would have allowed him, just even their vanilla preseason defense, there were multiple opportunities where he could have run based on where the coverage was going and the holes that were left in the defense. And what we saw him do instead is maybe it took him a little longer, but he found a way to throw the football in ways that made it feel more efficient and more like you're not looking for prototypical quarterback play, but you're looking for a balance. And I think what you saw was the most balanced version, still raw, still a lot of work to be done, and still probably not going to win you a bunch of football games if he has to play. If anything, God forbid, happens to Ryan Tannehill. But I'm good with the idea that he's going to continue to develop in the classroom. They're going to continue to work on things like footwork, vision. He's going to get the opportunity to work against the Titans defense on a regular basis because if you're backup quarterback, you're running scout teams. So I think I'm good with Malik as the two. I think there's enough.
Frees up another spot to do with wherever you want on the roster. And he wasn't putting the ball in bad situations, right? Really throughout the preseason. There was one ball early in the Ravens game, that first preseason game, that I remember, I think it was the left flat, maybe intended for Kyle Phillips, that should have been picked off. But other than that, there has not been a throw where you've just said, oh, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, one of the first ones in Baltimore, he almost got picked.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Glad to hear you're listening.
Okay,
but,
sorry.
He did have an interception.
Hey, man, you got me earlier. Bleep you.
No, that's fair. I get it. He had an interception in the Cardinals game, but it's batted at the line of scrimmage. Ball security has not been an issue for him throughout the preseason, and we know how important that is to this coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an emphasis on, do you do the things that we're asking you to do in the opportunities that we give you?
I got
and are
running
you
scout team audio.
Practicing the kind of things that we need and carrying it over to the game? And so far, we've seen that. I want to hear from Mike Vrabel on what he is looking for from the backup quarterback. And he wasn't ready to make a determination yesterday, but just in general terms.
I think we'll get to the roster probably later in the week, Teresa, but I appreciate the quarterback play that we got from both guys last night. Malik did some things that were really encouraging that we had talked about. His ability to step up into the pocket, kept his eyes downfield at times. Also was able to have some explosive gains running, which is exactly what we talked about. The operation was better, but then there's some things we have to improve. And then we had two 2-minute drives that we scored on, one with Malik, and then Logan came in and had a great drive and did a nice job and helped us score a touchdown there late.
That was Mike Vrabel talking yesterday about both of his quarterbacks and kind of the work that they both got in the preseason game. What'd you make of Logan Woodside towards the end? Because what I'm gonna send Brett some audio from Woodside because I talked to him a little bit in the locker room afterwards. But I thought the way that he came in with less than 4 minutes left in the game, I really thought they were going to let Malik ride it out. I almost kind of wish that they would have just at that point. you want as much of a sample size as humanly possible, but whatever. What did you make of Logan Woodside and the way that he came in? Because he did win them the game.
He did. Showed off his dual threat prowess. Should have had a
Wheels,
passing
baby.
touchdown.
Let's go.
Should have had a passing touchdown on a good throw to Des Fitzpatrick at the pylon, and it was just a stone-cold drop from Fitzpatrick. But good. 9 pass attempts, 5 completed, 43 yards. The rushing touchdown. It was the smallest sample size we've seen from him throughout the entire preseason, but felt like he had better command than he has at any point. But again, the Cardinals played, 38 players in that game?
Blaine said that in pregame, and I looked at him like he had 6 heads.
The Titans didn't play that much more, did they? I mean, dressed and played is different because the Titans dressed basically everybody.
I don't have the snap counts in front of me to give you a specific number on that, but I understand your general premise. What I think about the final preseason game is this. There are very few guys whose decisions have not already been made on. Mickey asked me how many spots were up for grabs still prior to the game taking place. And I probably went a little high because I said, yeah, just based on how much they're churning, offensive line and safeties, I bet there's probably 10 players that would be kind of fluid. And that felt like a lot. But what I saw from guys like Joe Jones, who's been on 6 different teams in 6 years, who saved a touchdown from happening in that preseason game. Now, whatever caused the coverage to be broken on that 70, was that JG, by the way, that threw that pass? Or was that 19?
No, I think that was McSorley.
Trace McSorley.
Andy Isabella,
yes,
who had a nice game. He's had a nice camp for Arizona.
JG threw a touchdown pass.
JG's had a nice camp.
Oh, my God.
He was 7 of 14, 141 yards. Will Bowling shaking his head at us.
What is your problem with JG? Now, give him a microphone now. Kirby. Can Will Bowling have a microphone? Because I want to hear some kind of defense on this.
But he's played well in the preseason.
I don't care. I generally want to understand what his problem
Already
is.
done 4 hours of this. What do you want?
I want to know why you're still making faces like you smell something bad when I say the name Jarrett Garantano.
No, it's just like he's not making the team.
Okay, so you can't enjoy the fact that he's out there throwing a touchdown pass in a preseason game? I care.
I don't know. I want to let the guy live. I'm on the side of
what you are doing is not letting the guy live.
I'm on the side of I just want to let the guy just ride off into the practice squad sunset. And I don't want to criticize him.
You're deflecting.
Because Tennessee fans have made the guy too big of a talking point. He's the most hated Tennessee player of the last 20 years.
Without question.
It's him and Arian Foster, but it's really just him. Arian Foster was never hated this much, even when he talked about the tacos that he got.
And Foster
from
was
the Tennessee
good,
coaching staff.
and
he was good.
He was a really
and
good
JJ was
player.
not.
And there's not a basketball player that's that hated. I mean, Henry To'oTo'o and Jarrett Garantano are the 2 most hated former Vols.
Yeah.
But you don't really think of Henry T as a former Vol now. Tennessee fans didn't. I've done this for 4 hours today. I can't believe you're making me work after my show. But
oh my God, I'm so sorry. We couldn't give you the microphones quick enough.
And
now
I really
you don't want the
appreciate
microphone.
It's fine. It's fine. I'll make it work.
Back to the shadows.
No, it's just his 4th quarterback. I don't care that he threw a 4th quarterback of any team threw a touchdown.
You clearly care because you're still talking about it.
Whatever.
Lovely to see you.
Goodbye.
He has always been a very good practice player, so maybe we should not be surprised he's had a good training camp.
Oh, my God. What was I talking about before? I just wanted to
We were talking about
Will.
things we definitively know about the Titans. Joe Jones, because we were wondering who
Joe Jones.
Yeah, who was the
Swell job, bud.
on that one play.
I think that's about all I had on Joe Jones. I don't know if Joe Jones make the roster, but honestly, if you make a play like that in a preseason game, okay, maybe that tips the scales.
Right.
Because especially in a place like inside linebacker where you're so damn thin, because I don't feel great about Chance Campbell or Dr. Gibbons or
Got Woodside audio.
all these different things. But I think that
Dylan Cole played.
Dylan Cole did play. I mean, he has to play. They have to see what they have right now with kind of some limited numbers there. And Dylan Cole, by the way, has been practicing after dealing with an injury early on. But I mentioned that I talked to Logan Woodside in the locker room about his current status with the team and how Saturday night went. So let's hear from at one point, Titans backup quarterback.
Preseason game, I didn't take it like a...
Mic's off, 1 minute.
It was great to get out there, put a drive together. Credit to the guys, man. I think one of the best plays of that drive was I kicked one out to Hassan, and it wasn't really a great decision. And I saw the guy coming, he made a miss and got up the sideline. That was a huge play. I just tried to get the playmakers the ball when I had the chance.
And for you, I know Malik was complimentary of you, saying how supportive you've been of him. What's it like, I guess, to wait your turn and then come in late? And I guess you always got to be ready.
Well, Malik's earned the opportunity to go in there and play, and he played a heck of a game tonight. He got us in a position to be able to go in there and try to win the game. I've seen a lot of growth and maturity out of him, and he's been a guy that I've loved being around, and yeah, I'm going to support him any way I can. He made some great throws and ran the heck out of the ball tonight too.
You've been in that position before,
Absolutely.
though, when you've found ways to respond and rebound.
Absolutely.
How have you felt like that's gone throughout the course of this period?
I think that's kind of been my whole career.
10 seconds, mics are on.
Going back to college, I've always had to fight. I've never, been really the first option, second. I've just kept fighting. And, it's led me to where I'm at now, and it was great to go and finish the drive off for sure.
So that's Logan Woodside in the locker room after Saturday's game. And like I said, if we're talking about things that I definitively feel or we definitively feel about the roster, now that we're through training camp preseason and ramping up now for Buffalo, I'm good with Malik as the two.
So I definitively know, and I know we talked about this last week, but that right tackle is a big problem for the Titans, and not just because Dylan Radunz didn't win the job like they probably wanted him to, but because Dylan Radunz appears to be a guard.
Yeah, he's not a tackle anymore.
And I have no idea who the swing tackle is, who the backup is at either left or right tackle for the Tennessee Titans. I have no idea.
This is going to be hard to do today because he may or may not have already been cut. So I'm going to have to scramble to go through roster transactions.
Who?
As we do this, Christian DeLauro is, I think, the closest thing to the third tackle that they have right now. I think that, you don't feel good about any of it. I mean, I think that – I don't know if Ruse plays tackle. I don't remember if Ruse has played tackle in the preseason. I need to go back and look at that because he's been playing a lot for Nate Davis in practice and obviously in preseason games because Nate's missed a couple of days. So maybe Vrabel was asked yesterday about Khalil McKenzie. Not Khalil McKenzie. Who's the McKenzie?
Jalen McKenzie.
Jalen McKenzie. I'm sorry.
Khalil's brother,
yes,
right? Okay.
I knew I was going to do that. I knew. I
did a double take.
I know. I'm sorry.
It's so aggressive.
All right, everybody relax. Your face looked like I had said somebody, I don't know, like your girlfriend had left you, is what you just looked at me like.
No, Khalil McKenzie did have a stint as an offensive lineman in the NFL.
All right, very good. Jalen McKenzie.
Yes, his brother.
Vrabel talked a little bit about Jalen McKenzie, but that was about the extent of the Jalen McKenzie knowledge that I had, so thank you for making that a bigger deal than need be. Let's hear from Mike Vrabel, though, about offensive line depth.
I think hopefully we can get, Nate back working this week, Jamarco back working, see where Dylan fits in. I thought, Roos has had a good camp. I think X has had a good camp. Most of those other guys that are working still have improved. And so we have got decisions to make. We'll keep a number of guys on the 53, and then we'll also have some practice squad guys that we feel like we can develop.
So he was asked about Dylan Radunz, and, the situation for Radunz has been interesting, to say the least. He played both tackle and guard in the game. He has not been practicing at tackle really since Petit Frere, I think, won the job after not this last Saturday, but the Saturday previous against the Bucs. John Robinson said as much, apparently, on the television broadcast. I went back and watched it yesterday. J-Rob with Charles Davis and Dan Helly saying that, Petit Frere had kind of come in and won the job.
Yeah, he broke the news.
Which we asked him, he'd break the news. The news has been out for a week. It's just nobody in the organization will acknowledge it. Yeah. Damn it, somebody say something. Just let us know what the right tackle situation is. It's not that deep. Anyway.
Yeah.
But when he was asked about Dylan Radunz, this is what Mike Vrabel had to say yesterday.
Trying to make sure guys are ready to go where we need them in the season. I thought he did some good things in there, and it wasn't perfect, but there was some good blocks. And
45 seconds left. Mics are off.
A couple holding penalties. He was one of them, and those are tough when the quarterback's scrambling and you don't know where he's at, and give a guy a tug at the last second as the quarterback's going by. So I think all in all, he was into it. There'll be some corrections that has to be made, but I thought that he did a nice job.
He has talked about feeling more comfortable on the left side of the line than the right side of the line. Do you see that in him?
I think that everybody should have some flexibility. I think that there's probably some personal comfort. I haven't had that conversation with him. I'm just trying to get guys ready and put them in the best spot. And he played somewhat.
10-second, mics are up.
Notice last night that there was a big difference in how he played from either side.
So that's Mike Vrabel talking about Dylan Radunz, who was the right tackle, now is not the right tackle. Now we're not sure what he is. Anyway, week 0. College football happened this weekend. We're going to talk about some of the football that we saw. We've got a lot of people that we've got on the show today. Will Compton is going to be here. Nebraska absolutely just fell through the floor, which is hilarious, and we'll talk to him about that later on. Some of our guys from the Wild Feathers and Moon Taxi are going to be here. They're playing in the 104.5 The Zone golf tournament, where we are currently broadcasting live, courtesy of so many great people like Jackalope Brewing, Edley's Barbecue, and Brentwood Jewelry. I'm Buck Rising, 104.5 The Zone.
Buck Country Financial.
Blaine Bishop's Ball State Cardinals as they kick off the new college football season. Continuous coverage all day. Thursday with kickoff at 6 on Net.
Yep, we're going up in 3.
Everybody be quiet.
104.
Here we go.
Country Financial, that's the place that you need to go if you are unsure about the kind of coverage that you have around your home. You need to know that if something were to happen to your home, you want to be protected with the full cost of what it would cost to rebuild. Did you know that the cost to rebuild a home has increased by almost 50% since 2019? If something happened to your home, it's important to make sure that you can rebuild. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, however, but with Country Financial, it can. With their additional Summer Golf Classic made possible by so many great companies. Hendrick's Gin, Fight DMD, King & Associates, TriStar Beverage, and so many more. We've talked about this. Yeah, you don't golf?
Oh, I do, just not well.
Okay.
And not often enough to be good at it.
All right, excellent. You did, however, watch college football this weekend.
Oh, yes.
We all watched college football this weekend. It was glorious to turn on the television at I think it was like 11:15 by the time they kicked off.
I loved getting home and also being able to watch like 3 quarters of Vanderbilt football after the Titans game.
All right, so you watched the end of the Vandy game. You want to start with Vandy?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
week 0 is a lot of different things happen. We're going to talk about the Nebraska Northwestern thing. Will Compton's going to be on, noted Nebraska alumni who has voiced many of their hype videos, and then he has Scott Frost onside kicking at the start of the third quarter. Laugh out loud funny stuff. But Vanderbilt, so I did not see the Vandy game. By the time I got home, I kind of crashed because they didn't kick off against Hawaii until, 9:30, which is right about the time that the Titans ended. So at that point, it was going to be a lost cause. Now
it was over by the time you got home.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I wish that I would have taken the time to, put it on my iPad in the press box, because when I woke up to see that they had scored over 60 points, I was blown away. Mike Wright, I watched some highlights. I didn't see the full thing. And again, I don't know what the quality of Hawaii is as an opponent right now. Yeah, they're not good at football. But
it doesn't matter.
Oh, my God.
It doesn't matter.
What happened?
Okay, do you know the last time Vanderbilt scored 63 points in a game?
No, I don't. I think I did 2 of their seasons. I didn't see them score 63 points.
Someone in the clubhouse just said never. Not never. You know who the starting running back for the Vanderbilt Commodores was the last time they scored 63 points in a game?
No, tell me.
Doug Matthews. Our friend, Coach Doug Matthews.
How old is Coach Matthews? Do we know this?
I do not know off the top of my head. The answer is 1969, though. That's the last time Vanderbilt.
Oh, my God.
Mac Brown was a freshman on the Vanderbilt football team the last time they scored 63 points in a game.
That is
1969.
Wild statistic.
Hawaii is terrible.
They
might
bad.
be worse than Elon, who Vanderbilt plays next week, but it doesn't matter because there is not an FBS team in the country that Vanderbilt could have hung 63 on a year ago. Not one. I don't know how many FCS teams there are in the country that Vanderbilt could have done this to last year. They got blown out by an FCS team in week 1 last year.
Mike Wright looked sharper.
He does. And it doesn't matter who it was against. The fact that Vanderbilt won by 53 against anybody. I don't care if it was 11 wooden posts out there. That shows improvement under Scott Frost.
I don't disagree. Let's hear from quarterback Mike Wright, who was an absolute stud on Saturday night.
Mike, what an outing. Week 0,
Mics are off.
Points, the most for Vanderbilt since 1969. How would you describe the way you guys played?
Yeah, I think we just owned into our operation. I mean, that was the game plan coming in. And that's just Vanderbilt football this year. I mean, preparation is everything. We prepared really well, and we just put it on display tonight.
At the half, your coach said that you guys needed to finish, and that would show growth. What do you feel like this team showed that that's part of your identity that you're trying to build?
Yeah, winning is hard. That's what most people don't realize. Winning is hard. I mean, the game of football is amazing, and that's why I love it so much. But that's just our identity. That's what we want to be this year, and so we took a step today. We took a really good, growing step today, and I'm just proud of this team.
And the big win, you have a special guest here with us. Can you introduce us?
Yeah, this is my man Ace. Ace been hanging out with us.
30 seconds left.
Yeah, go Commodores.
That a baby.
Well, congratulations on the win. Happy flight home.
All right, thank you so much.
We were sitting in Mike Vrabel's press conference or waiting for Vrabel to come out yesterday. Jimmy Wyatt, who, of course, was going crazy. Because it has also been, I don't think Jimmy was alive when they scored 60-plus points in a game at this point. But that was Mike Wright, the Vandy quarterback. He accounted for 4 total touchdowns. He was efficient as a passer. Definitely showcased his mobility again. We've seen the mobility part of things, but I thought that he looked crisper just as far as precision. But we were sitting there, Jimmy and I, we were the first 2 out there, and Jimmy just kind of said under his breath, "It's a new logo. It's a new logo." While he's wearing a Vandy visor with the old logo because he refuses to change over to that ridiculous-looking Villanova thing.
I can't remember who said it on social media yesterday that the new Vanderbilt V makes them look like an unlicensed military academy.
That's not nice. They scored 63.
Oh, they did. And
they scored 63.
And Mike Wright didn't.
No wonder Vandy people hate us.
He didn't just show his mobility. He rushed for 163 yards. Had an 87-yard touchdown run.
No, he was great.
So
he led them in both passing and rushing.
Yeah, there's not a team in the country Vanderbilt could have done this to last year. So this is a huge step for me. On the road, too, it's like a 5-hour time difference. Yeah, this is a huge step for Vanderbilt.
Okay, how about Vandy? So we have other results in week 0 to talk about. The Nebraska thing, man. There are so many things that I have to say that I almost feel we need the full hour with Will Compton, but I think he's only gonna let us subject him to torment for about 20 minutes today.
Brett, you know where the dump button is, correct?
Yeah, stay close.
Memorize.
He hasn't done radio in a long time. In fact, I think the last public broadcast he did was how he was trashed on the, what do they call it, the Yak. They did the case race on the Yak. He's blacked out eating pizza.
That Barstool thing?
Yeah. Whatever. Either way, head on a swivel. It's cut day in the NFL. Head on a swivel there as well. Brett Kern already been released by the Titans as of this morning. Several other players. Now, players that are going to make the roster, I saw many people in many different markets making jokes about, according to sources, star player X has made the Titans, Bengals, Cowboys, Seahawks roster or whatever. So Derrick Henry is going to be on the Titans roster. But where he is not is very high on the list in the ESPN Top 100. The NFL Network did their own. ESPN put out theirs this morning, and there is a substantial difference between what the players think of the Titans' best asset and what the analysts think. We'll talk about that coming up next.
But Gary Ashton.
Okay.
Cheerleading all SEC teams.
That's how all Auburn people know how to spell Auburn. A-U-B-U-R-N.
It's the dumbest cheer I've ever heard. S-L-A-Y. I mean, you can do that
Yeah.
Good morning. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone live from Greystone Golf Club. We're hanging out here today for the 104.5 The Zone 2022 Summer Golf Classic, made possible by so many great companies like Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, Nashville Soccer Club, Fistful of Bourbon, Uncle Bud's out there dishing up some lunch. Have you gotten your catfish or chicken yet today?
Not yet. It's only 11 a.m., but not to say that it's ever too early.
Never too early for hush puppies, baby.
But no, I cannot.
That
wait.
is not a 200 by Super Bowl kind of diet. Anyway, roster cuts taking place in the NFL, around the NFL right now. You heard Lucas mention that Brett Kern has already received his walking papers, a handful of other players with the Tennessee Titans too. Your phone calls are welcome, 615-737-1045. What do you definitively know through training camp and through the preseason about this 2022 team? The answer may not be much, because not a lot of the 2022 players, some of them, but not a lot of them, played throughout the course of the preseason. I have a general idea how I feel about the roster based off training camp, but preseason hasn't changed much for me outside of the mid to lower level players that will be filling out spots, not just on offense or defense, but will have to play special teams to kind of keep their jobs. As well as a couple of other things that we're going to talk about today, and something regarding Derrick Henry that we think is going to be worth hearing. What are you waving your phone at me for?
I was going to say, the people have spoken to us on Twitter if we want it.
Okay. About
what we definitively know.
All right. Why don't you tell me?
Well, Matt says that it's going to include 53 people, the roster. So thank you for that, Matt.
I'm
Matt,
glad that I went to you on this.
Another Matt says that defensive depth is very good. That's his takeaway from the preseason.
Well, they think their safety depth. They think otherwise of their safety depth.
On the defensive line, I would say that's probably accurate.
I saw some good snaps from the defensive line, and again, I think the inside linebacker situation is kind of interesting. Now, Jaquiski Tartt just got released from the Philadelphia Eagles. That's a notable name to keep an eye on. I don't know if that would have I don't know the situation around him. I know he played a lot of football for the 49ers over the course of his career. I don't know how long he's been in Philly. But just keep an eye on names at certain positions where they've clearly already tried to make moves for what they may do if they cut down below 53 tomorrow to pick up a few other players. But let's talk about this Derrick Henry situation. So you know my position on lists. I feel we are similarly aligned, yes, on the seriousness of the lists.
Yes.
I know that the NFL Network dropped like their top 20 yesterday, and that Derrick Henry was 12.
Yeah, he dropped 8 spots from a year ago.
So, which is still not, not very far, given that he only played half the season and still was like 6th in rushing after missing that amount of time. What I did see, though, is ESPN's top 100 that they just straight up put out this morning, and it's all 100 players. Were you surprised by how far you had to scroll down before you found a single Titan, much less the best of them?
Yeah, we're on the phone this morning, and we're like, he's not top 10, not top 25.
No, there's Jonathan Taylor
not
at 18.
Top 40.
There's
not top 50.
Quentin Nelson at 21.
He's not top 60.
There's Fred Warner at 25. He's 61.
Yep.
Out of 100 players, according to ESPN. Now I'll read the little blurb, and it's written by Tehran. Now Tehran got out there very quickly on Twitter and said, "I did not rank these players. do not come to me with your ire for where X, Y, and Z are ranked, because I don't even know where Jeffrey Simmons is on this list. I couldn't find him either.
He is 92.
Oh my God.
90. And now Matt Bowen of ESPN had a follow-up article talking about overrated and underrated players from that list.
All right, now wait. Let me get to Derrick Henry first, and then you can get to the next list.
I was saying he had Henry as one of the underrated players. Said that was too low of a ranking.
All right, so 61st of a possible 100 is where Derrick Henry ranks on the latest of these godforsaken lists. The road back from a Jones fracture has been relatively smooth for Henry, despite it being his first experience with an injury that caused him to miss extensive time, which I would add, parenthetically, only as a pro. Because didn't they shut him down for a season at Alabama because he had a broken leg?
Yeah, when he was I think his freshman year, his first year on campus.
So Alabama. It's been a while, but he has dealt with a more serious and extensive injury prior to the Jones fracture. But, it's his first serious one as an NFL player. The shortened season allowed Henry's body to get a break from the normal wear and tear, which I do think is accurate. He appears to have gotten bigger, which I also think is accurate, or maybe it's just how much bigger. He looks wider with the dreads.
It's the hair.
Like physically wider.
It's the hair.
Why is that?
I don't know. I can't explain
I
it.
don't understand it. I mean, I guess because it was so aerodynamic with the braid
Yep.
for the longest time, but it's like disorienting to me how much physically broader Derrick looks with his hair
With
down.
it just bouncing around.
It's very odd.
Swinging left. Do you think he keeps that all season?
I don't know. Probably until the first time somebody yanks the holy hell out of it, and then he's going to be like, all right, the aesthetic of me looking terrifying is not worth, who? I can't think of a defender on the roster. Anyway, Darius Leonard just absolutely rodeo tackling him by his hair.
I don't know an NFL player by the name of Darius Leonard.
Oh, God bless.
I think you're talking about Shaq.
Hey, you know what? Bleep you. He was on the top 100 as Darius Leonard last night talking about Derrick Henry.
It was Darius Shaquille Leonard.
Oh, my
That had
God.
his full name.
I can't do this all year.
And you know what? It was so funny. Last night, we watched the 3.5-minute clip in my living room, and then we went and we played the clip from last year. And Darius Leonard, he was Darius Leonard then, a year ago, was also being interviewed on that Derrick Henry clip.
Yes.
And where he's like, you play him twice a year. It's hard not to end up as a highlight. Hopefully, I don't end up as a highlight on next year's clip.
And there he was.
And the exact same thing happened where Derrick Henry lowered his shoulder into him and knocked him like 7 yards back. And there's Shaq Leonard talking to NFL Network about what it's like to play Derrick Henry.
Hey,
I thought that was so funny.
I'm gonna sink or swim moment, Brett. Go find me the it should be on the Titans timeline, so I'm not gonna make it too hard for you. But on the Titans timeline, give me the clip of Darius Leonard, Shaquille Leonard, Shaq Leonard, whatever the hell his name is. Why don't you give me the clip of him talking about Derrick Henry in the top 100? Because I think he used more specific terms about the way that Derrick Henry hit him in, I think it was week 3 or week 4 of the regular season last year.
Definitely the first Colts matchup.
Yeah, because they were home here, and it was early in the season, and you just see Derrick absolutely level this all-pro caliber linebacker in ways that, still shock you to see when it happens in real time. Like, I can't remember. I think I was talking to Chris Blair, our buddy from one of the local music venues in town, and he was saying that he was at a Titans practice, and he said the listening room is where Chris Blair is at. He was saying that how much bigger the players are in person because they were trying to watch practice, and like us, who have to stand during the radio to see what's happening on the field, he was like, I can't see over these guys to watch practice. And they were basically asking me, about just the general size of NFL players. And I said, the one that really only still catches me off guard is Derrick. Like, it's a daily thing where you just look at him, you're like, oh, my God. He's just so stupid every time. Like, Hassan Haskins is a big dude as a running back, and he's a third the size of Derrick. It's an optical illusion with the hair at this point. But, yeah, 61st on this list. What they are saying is a part of this blurb, according to Titans running back coach Tony Dews. We start over. Every year is a new year.
Got Darius.
He understands that what he accomplished in the past is the past. It's not what you did last year. Well, and it goes on at some length. But what he did last year is consistently run over Darius, Shaq, Leonard, and that was something that Shaq, Darius, Leonard was quick to remind everybody of in the NFL's top 100 last night.
You just never know, how to tackle him when we played against him. When he threw me out the club for about 10 yards, just show how powerful he is.
Derrick Henry knocking over Darius Leonard.
He's got so much power behind his pass. I always say, man, he's a defensive end playing running back.
Rock 'em, sock 'em, robots.
You guys.
All right. So toss me out the club by about 10 yards. And he's right. They showed the clip right after, and it's literally a grown man. Shaq Leonard is not a small human being, and he's getting tossed.
Again, a year ago on that same feature, he lamented on how, I hope I don't end up on a highlight next year. And here he is.
It's a tough scene. So we're hanging out at the 104.5 The Zone 2022 Summer Golf Classic. There's a lot of good people that are hanging out, that are playing. Our friends from the Wild Feathers are going to hang out with us. Coming up next, they're playing live on the green this coming weekend, as are many great artists, and we're going to catch up with them. On the other side, live from Greystone Golf Club. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
Buck, Tennessee Men's Clinic.
Okay, bud.
You tape this?
I'm rolling.
Thank you.
Ball State in the Vols' first game of the new season.
Touchdown, Tennessee.
Bob Kessling and Pat Ryan have the kickoff Thursday at 6 on on Nashville's home for the Vols. 104.5 The Zone.
You're up.
Hey guys, did you know that having your testosterone check should be a part of your annual routine men's health? This is not something that I knew until I talked to our friends at Tennessee.
Is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
Welcome back live from 104.5 The Zone's 2022 Summer Golf Classic at Greystone Golf Club. We're hanging out here. Never know who's going to come through the clubhouse. I mean, we did know that Joel and Ricky from the Wild Feathers were going to be here at some point. But we're happy to have them on the show. Always a pleasure when we can chop it up with the boys. What's happening?
Heck yeah. Oh, we're here to play some golf, here to win.
All right.
We're going for the gold.
So we have been in a fight with our afternoon drive show about this. Was this the same tournament or classic that 3HL, the team with 3HL and Brett Kern,
spring version.
The spring version. Placed second. And so I have called
3HL
them.
3HL is in the correct side of it, by the way.
3HL is what? I'm sorry? What are you saying from a place where nobody can hear you or see you?
Brett agrees with 3HL.
3HL is correct in their argument, by the way.
That a second place golf trophy is something to be celebrated.
It's different. It's different in golf. It's totally different.
Whose side are you two on? Because I'm not going to settle for the participation trophy stuff. I'll tell you right now.
I just don't want to get last. Really, like in my heart of hearts, really, I just don't want to be last. But then don't they give you like the most honest award or something for being last?
I don't know. I think I'm handing out awards after the fact. So if you come in last,
well, just give us one then.
We'll come up with one for you.
Yeah, we'll get something.
First place or no place?
I'm kind of whatever. I like to win, but I'm here for the fun. To celebrate.
No,
the
fun is overrated. I want competitiveness.
So who's going to be more competitive? You or the Moon Taxi guys you're playing with?
I don't know. Probably us.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But those guys are pretty good golfers too, so we'll see.
You guys are playing live. You're both playing live on the green this coming weekend, Friday night, 6:15. Do you want to make the joke, or you want me to do it?
You can do it.
615, if you will. I didn't
want to only
Nashville zone.
I didn't want to steal. I didn't want to steal your joke if you wanted to use it.
Yeah, it's us, then Colony House, and then Moon Taxi. So, and two of the Moon Taxi guys are en route as we speak. We're going to hit the range again, sweat our faces off, and
Godspeed.
Go out there.
Yeah, playing on a team. We're going to take them out to the range, make sure their swing's good, make sure they're give them some pointers before we get out there.
Oh yeah. Make sure everybody's buttoned up.
I hope they're listening right now.
Me too. God, I hope.
Well, Lucas was in here asking you questions about the live on the green lineup, like, the idea of, do you guys like the lineup? And I didn't know if he was going like sports talk radio, trying to trap you guys and having you rip Moon Taxi or something like that.
Some local beef, local musical beef.
No, of course we love Moon Taxi. We've known them for years and years and years. I'm really bummed I can't make it Thursday night to see Cheryl and Jenny Lewis and Nikki as well. But we'll be there all night, all day.
Yeah, we should start a beef, shouldn't say it on the radio, but
No, we should.
We should start something because,
can I get picked up in Variety for this?
Right.
I'm down. Let's make some news, kids.
we ain't got nothing to lose.
Right, yeah.
What you got?
No, wait. Let's do it this way. Let's make this a tease because we're on radio. Let's find somebody for them to rip at the very end of the segment. Is that fair? We'll give them time to come up with a list of people that they want to slight on the radio.
Yeah.
And then we will end the segment that way. That way people have to listen through the whole segment.
We'll try our best. We're not very good at being mean.
What are y'all going to open with on Friday?
Oh, that's a really good question.
But you asked that question?
Freebird.
Joel makes the set list. And
we usually judge by the crowd. Like, what's this look like? It's usually about an hour or two before the set.
Freebird?
Yeah. It's
just beat them to it,
But
beat them to
it. It's a better joke than the
But
615
if you plan out your set list, as soon as you get there, it's like, well, I don't know, and switch it up. So we just usually about an hour or two before we go on. Hopefully somebody's got a printer, or we just write them out on a piece of cardboard.
Yeah.
Lovely as Becky brings bottles of tequila to the table.
Wow.
Excellent.
I thought that was water.
No, it can be. Depending on how hot.
I didn't guzzle it.
You guys want to? We have two here.
Maybe
Milagro tequila.
I guess that's how you know it's good tequila if it looks like water.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Maybe on the turn. I can't do it on the front nine.
Depending on how good
this could get much more interesting very, very quickly with our friends Ricky and Joel from the Wild Feathers at the 104.5 The Zone Summer Golf Classic. So live on the green being back is a big deal. It is something that natives and outsiders like myself can all appreciate and enjoy, come together, and it's such a great celebration the way that they do it of what live music is and the kind of talent that they bring in, like you guys, to bring it up and to make it feel like a big event. And it is a big event every year, but just to have it back in its in its entirety, I think, has got to be really important for a lot of people who are involved with this thing.
Yeah, and Lightning 100s, we travel a lot. We see the country, and we hear other radio stations. We visit a lot of radio stations, and Lightning 100 is just head and shoulders above everyone else when it comes to AAA and just playing locally to, your town. And the fact that it's free.
Yeah, that's the most thing. You can go down.
And it's all your favorite food and drink. I mean, it's just a blast. We'd go even if we're not playing. So.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you can't go until after high school football, right?
We will be
got
at
FOMO.
Father Ryan, week 3, the 104.5 The Zone high school football game
Nice
of the
plug.
week, which we're very excited for. The big rivalry, the Bishop's Cup. Pittsburgh commit Kenny Minchie of Pope Prep. But as soon as I hop off the play-by-play mic, yes, I will be booking it to Public Square Park to watch Moon Taxi, though I am very bummed I cannot see my friends play from the Wild Feathers at 6:15.
We'll be there all buzzed up, ready to show you a good time, even though we're done playing.
It's going to be, well, it was certainly a good time the last time we all got together. That was an outstanding time that we all had. There's a lot of moving parts today with roster cut day. And I know, especially you, Ricky, that you are mourning the loss of Brett Kern on the Titans. It's kind of like we've been doing an on-air eulogy, and it hurts
We
me.
talked about it the whole way here.
Yeah.
Did you actually?
Yeah. It's like, man.
Because we were listening.
Kearney Mack,
See,
Colonel.
Joel's got a good poker face. Like, he could be totally
No, he's
gassing
serious.
me up.
No,
right
we're
now.
like,
I believe him.
No, I mean, that's just, I don't know. I mean, it's a tough call. I mean, we wish him well, but then, we don't want to play against him and pin us behind the 10.
Week
We're
2.
thinking, what would we do?
Well, you say week 2 like he's
Why
already
do
on
we-
the Bills
why do
roster.
we-
He's gonna
why
be
do
there.
we do that?
That's where he's going. Surely, right?
It's his hometown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
wish him well,
He's
but
gonna
not
have it up
well
a
against
jag
us.
or something like that.
It's really sad, but at the same time, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, it's all things have to come to an end, and, it's been incredible. How many years? 13?
13 on this roster.
Yeah,
As long as
since
Stonehouse can
2009.
rip. As long as he can rip.
Buddy, he was ripping.
Well,
Like-
he better.
Yeah.
Because he better.
That's the most, serious
Yeah.
I've heard you about anything ever.
Another thing we said was like, when you have like a position player that's like the best in the league and everything like that, like Kern's like, he's the best punter.
He's literally the best
and
player
like,
in the league.
so it's kind of tough, some of these players, these are really good players. But when you have, he's the absolute best. Now he's gone. But,
For guys who have been a part of your favorite sports franchises, like 14 years with or 13 years with one institution is not done in the NFL hardly at all, especially specialists. I feel like you cycle through guys like that all the time. I mean, Andy Lee was out there against the Cardinals. We talked about it earlier. He's 40 years old, but he's played on a bunch of different teams. For like Brett and for you guys, like, has there been a more significant player? Like Jarrell, I guess, was kind of this a couple of years ago when they got rid of him a year before it was probably right to get rid of him. But I can't think of a more significant one in the last 10 years
Yeah, I
than
can't
Brett.
either. I feel like you kind of try to not get emotionally attached because it is a business, So, but it's so hard when you love them and you root for them so hard every Sunday, whenever they're playing. But I tell you what, my wife is going to be very, very, very upset whenever the day comes when Derrick's not around. I mess with her every now and then, like, I don't think he's gonna. It's a contractual year, and she's like, "You got to be kidding me."
It's a contract year. Yeah. My girlfriend's the same way, but she, like, every time she talks about Derrick, it's like she would talk about like a small child. Like she thinks Derrick's adorable.
Right.
And I'm like, this is the predator.
Right. He's a monster.
Out
He's
here,
like the predator.
He's out here to steal your soul.
Yeah.
And she thinks he's the cutest.
I know.
It's crazy.
what do you guys think of the new look too? Have you guys discussed that on the show?
We have. We were
okay.
just
I was
talking
like,
about
hey,
it.
I dig it.
Yeah.
I dig it.
It has physically made him look bigger, and I don't understand how that's possible. Yeah.
We were at a CAA party a couple years back at Martin's Barbecue downtown, and he was there. And dude, like, I tried to kind of like not, but just kind of like to get a feel a little bit, like
You tried to put a shoulder in him?
Not really.
You walk by
like
him and kind of
brush it by,
bro. Step up.
No.
You just wanted to feel how physically firm
we
his
were.
bicep
We had
was?
said hello. And that's kind of wanted to. And it was
Ricky
like,
got a concussion too.
Yeah. It was like bumping into a refrigerator. Like a heavy duty appliance. And then the same night, Lawan put Joel on his shoulders, and we have a picture of that, actually.
I think we discussed that last time.
Yeah, probably.
They did the CAA party this year at the soccer stadium, and I'm salty that I did not go because it looked like a great time.
It's
these
fun.
things are always done up well. Colder business, the music industry or the football industry? Because I feel like there have got to be some cold and uncomfortable conversations.
Well, I would say it's colder, or it's more of a disappointment in the music just because it's subjective, opposed to if somebody doesn't produce on the field, then hey, what can you say?
Right.
You know? So that's like, so somebody's like, it's just your opinion if we suck. Really.
So does that
somebody likes us.
So does that make the music business colder then?
I think it does. I mean, maybe. I mean,
it
maybe
makes
not
it more
colder,
personal.
but at least you know, it's like, well, I didn't catch that ball, so I guess you know.
There's
something
plenty
like that,
of great musicians and artists and songwriters out there that no one will ever hear of.
Yeah.
Because it's so saturated and it's so easy to get lost in the mix. But if you're like the best of the best,
Yeah,
if
there's
you're the
no
best
monster
quarterback,
like phenom running backs
Right.
out there. They're like, you know what? No, he never got a shot. I
and
think
also you can't pretend to be a quarterback or a running back or whatever.
No.
You
Yeah,
can
you
pretend
gotta
to be a
do it.
songwriter.
I mean, that's like
There's no Milli Vanillis of the sports world.
It's like
you know?
40% of our population, boys. Easy.
Somebody who's doing the work, and they're just.
There's a few guys out there you could probably say have been stealing money for a few years.
Oh yeah.
Again, we'll get to that at the end of the segment.
Right.
That's when we're having Joel and Ricky rip people from the music industry.
Oh, I'm talking about sports.
Oh well, no, there's probably that too. I was thinking it's so much more personal though. In music, it's the only place that I can relate to what it is to be a musician because, like, you are the product.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
are the product,
And
people do have different tastes and things like that that you can't. You're just never going to be able to account for. But like it becomes such a. I feel it would be more cutting.
Right. And
Yeah.
chances are, if you're an artist, you're sensitive, you're emotional, everything hurts your feelings, so.
Lucas has an artist's temperament. We really struggle with it on the air. He's definitely the more difficult of the two of us.
I have mood swings.
Yeah.
So, what have you guys enjoyed about the Titans preseason? I know that you pay attention to these things tangentially, so I'm kind of curious what your observations were because we've been talking about a bunch of dudes in like very, very specific detail for a month and a half.
We haven't got to watch one game because every preseason game we've been on the road. But is it Kyle Phillips?
Yes.
I'm pretty impressed with him.
Buddy.
Just watching some of those Instagram videos of him just breaking ankles is pretty awesome.
See, this is the target audience for the ladder drills. I told you, this is who we're doing it for on Instagram.
And I like seeing the highlight of Traylon catching his first touchdown and all that.
Buddy, we haven't talked about that Malik Willis to Traylon Burks
sidearm
touchdown.
Oh,
Brett, do you have the highlight back there? I'm gonna make you
Let me
miserable.
pull it real quick.
Okay, well you let me know when you have it because I would like to hear that audio, especially with Mike Keith and Coach Mack on the call. Wild Feathers, Joel and Ricky hanging out with us here on 104.5 The Zone. They are going to be playing Friday night live on the Green is when you can catch them. At 6:15 is when their set begins. 6:15 to be specific. Who did you pay? Who did you pay for that? That's really a nice talking point.
We're just
what?
who do we pay to get that time slot?
Oh, yeah.
Lieutenant
we
Dan.
paid the Cooper.
Yeah.
The mayor. No.
That's a nice time.
We're doing
slot.
deals under
Yeah.
the table.
It's
I
nice.
like that he just called him Cooper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We like playing later in the evening. The lights
Okay.
look better and all that. But
Sure.
it's nice to get your job done and have a good time the rest of the
Well,
night,
you can-
stress-free. Clock out. So we're excited about it. It's like you said, it's great that it's coming back and we can sleep in our own beds that night, which is always nice.
So, what kind of goes into the week leading up to events like these? Not just live on the Green for you guys, because I know you've obviously been on tour, seen a lot of the pictures on social media. You can follow them at the Wild Feathers on Instagram. Do you guys I saw you have a Twitter account, but it's not something that
Me personally, or the
I know
band?
you have a Twitter account.
Yeah, we tweet every now and then.
Nobody else
It's more
besides us.
Ben, our drummer, does a lot of it. Which by the way, he told me to tell y'all that he wants to come in and talk college football.
Okay, can we talk about this?
Yeah, he's recruiting us for a college football pick'em league.
Yes.
That he was messaging
yes.
us about yesterday.
He said, be sure to let y'all know that he wants to come in and lose his mind geeking out with college football.
It sounds like he's trying to play us.
Ben Jarvis, the drummer for the Wild Feathers.
Right.
Yeah, he DM'd Lucas and I a couple of days ago and said that he's got, and I'm betraying a confidence by reading our DMs, but that's okay, asking us if we had any interest in his college pick'em league. He told us the buy-in, 10-game confidence deal. It sounds like he's just trying to steal my money because he knows I'm going to lose something like this. Like, am I being run? Is your drummer running a scam on me? Is the question
Probably,
that I would
say
like to
yes.
Let me tell
I
you,
don't know,
it's frightening how smart he is when it comes to that stuff.
He's writing things down in a little note. Like, what are you writing in there? What? And also, what year is it?
And
like,
he watches like high school games. You know what I mean?
Or like recruiting and
yes.
stuff like
Oh,
this.
absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
he's a Georgia fan.
Yeah.
Big Georgia.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And he had a really good feeling that we were going to take, quote, the guy from Liberty League.
Yes.
Before any of us, I was like, no way. This is not, And he's
So
like,
Ben is out here insider trading.
yeah, I don't know how he finds this stuff out.
Wait, so question. With as big of a Georgia Bulldogs fan as your drummer Ben Jarvis is, if you guys have a show scheduled on a Saturday night during a Georgia game, do problems arise?
Well, one time it did.
Oh, really? Tell
yeah,
this
here's
sounds
some
like a
dirt.
story.
Here's some dirt.
I look back one night. We were on stage. No, was it sound check or were we playing?
I don't know. It would be a better story if it's during the show, but it might have been sound check.
Yeah, details during the show. Let's keep it interesting. The facts are
during a show.
We're playing, regardless, a song, a set in front of people, and I look back and he had his iPad underneath his hi-hat.
No.
And he was watching the game and playing, which
At
is
the
not
same
easy
time.
to do.
I respect that so much.
But was it, like, could you tell that he was distracted?
No, he was playing great, but it took me by surprise and it threw me off. So after the show, I was like, dude, we can't do that.
Tell me what year was this? Do you remember?
This is
Approximately?
2 or 3 years ago.
Okay, so maybe the beginning of the Kirby Smart era.
Yeah, he was like, I know, dude, I just couldn't help it.
I couldn't. I
Yeah.
respect that so much. Like
No.
me at any fall wedding I get invited to. Like you scheduled a fall wedding, I'm going to watch this game on my phone during the ceremony.
Right. Yeah.
That is objectively hilarious. That has to be one of them. I mean, there have to be plenty of things that have the opportunity to distract you and can distract you throughout the course of a live show that you're playing. But like you're looking back at your drummer watching the Georgia game on an iPad is laugh out loud funny.
We want to mess up because we're not playing like tracks. It's not the same every time. We're like, oh, let's play a double solo, keep going, or something like that.
Yeah.
But he's down like, what's the matter with you?
But that could
pay
go,
attention.
That could go very poorly.
You know,
Because if it was the 2016 Tennessee game and Georgia loses on a Hail Mary in the last play of the game, and you're in the middle of a song, what happens? Does he throw his drumstick?
Yeah, he hits really hard.
He doesn't get paid is what happens.
He doesn't get paid. Yeah, which is why he's trying to lure Lucas and I into this confidence pool so he can take our money. Oh, goodness. Well, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us.
Man, thank you all.
Do you feel comfortable enough to give a score? Have you played this course before?
Joel has once. I have not.
Have you? How'd you fare?
I can't. It's like 2 or 3 years before the pandemic.
Okay.
But yeah, it was kind of like because it's so far. It's kind of far out here.
Yeah.
I came with my buddy, so we made the whole day of it, which means we drank about a dozen beers each.
Sure.
And everything. So I can't remember. I probably stopped keeping score about halfway through if I was doing that.
I feel like if it's hot enough on a day like today, like it's just about the amount of beers you can drink as opposed to,
I really work on my game.
Within responsibility, of course.
It's beautiful, though. It's in really great shape.
It is. We're live out here at Greystone Golf Club. Ricky and Joel of the Wild Feathers have been kind enough to be our guests. Live on the Green is free this weekend. Friday night is when you can catch their set, 6:15 p.m. Boys, I always appreciate the time.
Thank you all so much.
Good luck today.
All right, we're going to take a look at Brew McCoy, his eligibility for the University of Tennessee. I think it happened like right when we got off the air on Friday. So we're going to talk about if it actually makes the Vols better. That's next.
But QC.
Okay.
Beware of Turn the Page.
live from 104.5 The Zone's 2022 Summer Golf Classic. Made possible by a great many wonderful people. RTM Roofing, Fight DMD, Southern Trophy House, Innovative Business Products, and so many more. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. We've been talking a lot about the Titans in the first hour. Of course, Brett Kern released one of the more prominent cuts that the Titans have already made. Tyree Gillespie and Adrian Colbert, to the safeties, have been released as well, and some depth offensive linemen. You told me that Brew McCoy got made eligible while we were doing the Blaine and Mickey hit, I think at the end of the Blaine and Mickey hit, in their first hour on Friday, yeah?
Yes.
And I want to talk about that, but what are you holding in front of you that you feel takes precedent over the Brew McCoy stuff?
So I was watching Game of Thrones last night.
I did too.
I imagine you were as well.
Well, we'll do spoilers with Will Compton at 12:20.
And after that ended, I just flip over and the VMAs are on. So I checked in.
The Video Music Awards.
Video Music Awards on MTV.
Those unaccustomed with the slang of the children.
And I was watched for about 12 minutes, and I didn't know a single name that they announced as presenters for awards.
On the VMAs?
Nominees, as winners of these awards.
All right. Because the only thing that I saw the VMAs is the giant, hologram of the woman shaking it. Like,
yeah, I saw that on social media.
That made the rounds on the – I don't know who the act was that had that, prominently displayed in the middle of it. I saw a lot of pearl clutching, which made me happy on the internet.
But
that was always fun.
For less than 15 minutes, and I'm 26. Am I not the target audience for the VMAs?
Buddy, I don't know. I couldn't tell you last time I seen a music video.
What is a Young Gravy?
What is a Young Gravy? No, that I know from TikTok.
You know who Young Gravy is?
I know that there's a person on TikTok. He exists, and he's called Young Gravy.
Okay, the nominees for the best new artist: Baby Keem. Have you heard of Baby Keem?
Yeah, I saw him at Brooklyn Bowl.
Really?
Oh my God, are you old?
Latto. Do you know who Latto is?
No, I don't.
The winner is Dove Cameron. Do you know who Dove Cameron is?
I sure don't.
Kid Leroy. What is a Kid Leroy?
Also TikTok.
Also TikTok?
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's what it is.
He's got a song with Bieber, for God's sake.
Yeah, well, that's what it was.
I think you're just out of touch.
He was nominated for best collaboration.
Now, I envy your musical taste because you know more about the music industry and acts that are less mainstream than I do. But, these are all names that I recognize. And I'm hardly, somebody you would consider, with it.
Best rock had Foo Fighters and Jack White, and the Chili Peppers ended up winning.
Yeah, we don't make new rock stars at this point. That's just the same guys.
Drake and Mac Miller were getting nominated for stuff. Imagine Dragons were out there. But Main Skin. What is a Main Skin?
Sounds like a good rock band name.
The winner of Best Alternative.
Or an adult film. I don't know.
Best R&B featured somebody named Chloe. Just Chloe.
Okay.
I didn't.
I feel. All right, you're embarrassing yourself at this point, reading names and probably mispronouncing them.
But when I saw someone named Young Gravy, that people were just freaking out and fawning.
You're not
on
TikTok.
The red carpet. You
don't have TikTok.
I was like, all right, this is clearly not intended for me.
No, that's not. We're not that far removed. I saw Wiz Khalifa doing a game show with Michael Strahan. Michael Strahan's game show. Wiz Khalifa was one of the participants. So Wiz Khalifa being on the Game Show Network makes me feel old. That's the kind of thing that you're dealing with Young Gravy here. You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah, I do know.
Disarming. It's disorienting.
Yeah, it is. I won't get a TikTok. We have news.
What's the news?
Vanderbilt has sold. This is from Pete Thamel. Vanderbilt has sold the naming rights of Vanderbilt Stadium to First Bank for the next 10 years.
Oh,
it'll be the first time in more than a century of Vanderbilt football that the school has sold the stadium's naming rights. The stadium will be called First Bank Stadium.
How is that possible?
Pete Thamel goes on to say it.
Wait, no. Wait, let's not.
Oh, not possible that they have never had naming rights.
The first time they've had naming rights on their stadium?
Well, yeah, it is college football.
Is that not common?
Name one college football stadium that has naming rights.
Kroger Field.
Besides Kroger, that's the only. That's the only.
Yeah,
the only one.
Bleep you, I got it.
It's the only one in the SEC. You didn't let me finish. I was going to say besides Kroger Field, which is still an objectively
no, because then I can
name.
still get a win off that.
But there's not another one in the SEC. It's all named after,
really
icons, greats of that school. Bryant Denny Stadium,
that seems like
Stadium, Jordan Hare Stadium.
For a sport as greedy as college football is, that seems like a tremendous missed opportunity.
So the stadium will be called First Bank Stadium. Thamel says it marks a significant financial influx for Vanderbilt, part of athletic director Candace Lee's attempts to modernize the football program. They will break ground on more than $300 million in facilities upgrades later in the fall.
I mean, as somebody who's just objective, thank God somebody with Vanderbilt has a plan to better their situation. Now, maybe it's not going to come from the conventional ways with the kind of donor bases. I mean, they have donor bases, but it's not athletics that they're necessarily investing in at Vanderbilt, and that's all well and good. But what Candace Story-Lee has displayed in, the initial $300,000 investment that we talked about, it's just kind of to get things up to par. What they're doing beyond that to advance Vanderbilt's position and for them to, honestly, and I'd honestly like to talk to Candace Story-Lee. We haven't had her on the show, have we?
No, she's been on 3HL, I believe, a time or two.
Well, we'll see if she doesn't make an appearance on one of the other shows, but I would really enjoy the conversation just because I want to know how much of – they mentioned modernizing their football program. So what you're telling me is that Vanderbilt is now, for once, on the cutting edge of something that is critical to their survival. Because I would wonder in an honest moment how much they're doing that to make sure that they, at some point, don't get relegated from the SEC.
Well, you can't talk about modernizing a college football program without trying to keep up with the NIL landscape. And I don't know what Vanderbilt has in that regard. But this does feel like a layup, right? Like nobody's going to be up in arms. People will complain about the logo change. Nobody's going to be up in arms that Vanderbilt Stadium is now First Bank Stadium because of the financial benefit that will come to the program. If you tried to do this in Knoxville or really anywhere else in the SEC,
people would freak out.
People would riot.
Yeah.
They would absolutely riot. So this feels like a layup for Vanderbilt.
So maybe I'm running that through my prism because they did rename Assembly Hall Indiana's basketball stadium when they did a ton of renovations. And it then became Simon Scott Assembly Hall, which freaked a lot of people out because, my grandma is a diehard Indiana basketball fan.
I bet that pissed a lot of people off.
She was furious, one, that it's not already named Robert Montgomery Knight Hall or Assembly Hall. But Simon Scott Arena KFC Yum Center is something that you just pulled up on your laptop.
Louisville.
So this is not unprecedented.
No, but in football and in the SEC, it's just rare. Like Kentucky is the exception.
And Kentucky is one of – so it's not that Vandy's on the cutting edge. It's that Kentucky's already done it and drastically improved their standing and the amount of money that they're able to invest and the competency of their coaching staff and the idea that they're now bringing in pro coaching talent to develop players to make Kentucky a legitimate football program as they have been over the past decade, I think.
Think about LSU. Tiger Stadium, right? Not even named after a significant figure in LSU history.
Let's say if we named it Aquafina Titan Stadium, just based on the branding here of the water bottle, no free ads.
You mean Aquafina Tiger Stadium?
Yeah.
People would freak out. They would freak out.
That's
People
stupid.
Would be so
it's more
mad,
money. Get over it.
Down in Baton Rouge, if you try to rename Tiger Stadium.
With all the other stuff that's changing in college football, people are going to get bent out of shape about what the stadium's called. Stop.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole thing.
That's just lame
college
to me.
football. It's tradition. That's literally what it's built on.
The entire sport just spent the last calendar year telling you that your tradition doesn't matter.
No, that's true.
Why am I still fighting for the name?
Because the people making those decisions aren't the ones that care about the tradition.
Yeah, well, they're the ones that make the rules, I guess is my point. But I understand your larger situation. So good on Vandy. Good on Vandy for finding ways to do things that other previous athletic administrations have not done. To this point, to their credit, that's a significant deal, and I'd be curious that you didn't see any financial terms from Pete Thamel. I'm sorry, I interrupted you before you read the rest of the details.
No, I didn't. I mean, I read all of what Thamel had. It's just a 10-year deal. That's all we know. Trying to find out if it is effective immediately. I don't know if Vanderbilt will be hosting Elon in First Bank Stadium in week 2.
No, well, I would imagine they would like to, just for the sake of cash flow.
Yes. Now, please.
Cut the check.
Sitting down with First Bank.
Cut the
effective
check.
2023? No. Effective August 23.
That is laugh out loud funny. All right. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Let's talk about this Brew McCoy situation. Let's get back into what we learned from the Titans preseason game. Will Compton, whose Nebraska Cornhuskers just absolutely ate it in Dublin. I'm enjoying this a lot.
It is really funny.
I'll be honest
I'm sorry.
with you.
Like, different quarterback, same Nebraska.
So we'll talk about that with Will Compton at 12:20. Live from Greystone Golf Club. It's 104.5 The Zone.
But Gary Ashton.
There's nobody in media.
Well, Honda Accords of Nashville, beware.
Okay.
If you see a zone Sprinter van zooming around, your car is not safe.
All right. So we'll get an update about how Kirby Allen Kirby's car breaking. There's always one of these things.
Well, it happened 2 years ago at the Zone Summer Golf Classic. I believe we were in Rockvale when we locked the keys out of one of the station vehicles, and Kirby had to break into it. And the key ended up not being in there. It was somewhere else. So he broke into the car for nothing.
Excellent.
But I learned a valuable lesson that day.
How to break into a car?
Yeah.
You learned something. Who'd have thunk? We'd be happy to have your participation. Jump in if you like. 615-737-1045. That's the number. 615-737-1045 is how you do so. Week 0 in college football took place. It was glorious. We're going to make fun of Nebraska. Coming up next, Will Compton's going to be here in the noon hour. He's suffering. I think it hit him worse yesterday, the day after the loss, because it just, sunk in. In the moment, you're kind of living with your emotions on social media, especially him, because he's, who's as bad about live tweeting games as I am? Will Compton. So many of that not safe for work Cornhuskers image. I don't know how else to properly describe it for an FCC safe audience, but so many of those apparently arousing Will Compton during the course of a football game.
Yeah, but Comptons are more entertaining to follow. No offense to you.
Oh, yeah, that's fair, because I'm tweeting out, 64-yard punt from Ryan Stonehouse.
Yeah,
How about
8-yard
that?
gain, 2nd and 2.
Yeah. I've tried to get a little more judicious with it, but I did not keep up the habit that I told Josh Pate I was going to stick to, which is, of course, live tweeting every game.
It's so funny scrolling through the timeline, too, because everybody does it. And it's like Derrick Henry with a 6-yard run, and then you see 8 different tweets in succession. 6-yard run by Derrick Henry, 2nd and 4. 6-yard run by Derrick Henry, 2nd and 4.
It's only funny because I know how ahead of the television broadcast I am, and I know how much it bothers people. So at this point, I'm just doing it to troll. But there was some news from the world of college football before we get back to some Titan stuff as well. Brew McCoy. This has been a point of contention for the last couple of, would you say about a month? Like it hasn't really ramped up until the last couple of weeks, with USC needing to put out a statement saying that they felt that they had done their part to make sure that Brew McCoy was eligible. He was barely on their campus, and they're still having to issue statements about him. You have people from VolQuest, like Austin Price, calling the USC statement half-truths and a certain document that was not signed to allow Brew McCoy to transfer. And then on Friday, Brew McCoy transfers, and there we are.
Yeah, it was more drawn out than you thought. I mean, even nowadays, it feels like these transfers just kind of happen, and you just assume that they're going to be able to play. But it's big. Cedric Tillman is at the podium now talking to Tennessee media, said that Brew McCoy's become one of his closest friends, loves the way he plays. Josh Heupel complimented him on how he's adjusted to the tempo of the offense, because it's been a process of just getting him in shape when he got back, like just conditioning. Conditioning within this program is probably a little bit different, than other programs, just with the nature of the offense.
How fast you have to go. I mean, we heard the offensive linemen talking often about that last year.
Yeah, it was a big point of conversation. So it's just good to have it behind them. They've said all along they've been preparing as if he's going to play, and now they know for sure that he's going to play. And it basically answers who the number 2 guy opposite Cedric Tillman is going to be.
Does it?
Not as far as production, but I think you're confident that that's who will start opposite of Cedric Tillman.
Okay, so
we'll get a depth chart today, so we'll find out.
That's supposed to happen at some point in the next hour, so hopefully we'll be able to talk about that on air. But like Brew McCoy, as a college football player, has not had the sample size for me to definitively say, okay, that's going to be the starting wide receiver across from Cedric Tillman, because that's been one of the biggest questions of the Vols offseason. How do you replace some of the production that you lost? How do you kind of continue to build upon what you had already with Cedric Tillman and Hendon Hooker coming back for this season, and seeing how much further that can take the offense? But there's been a lot of talk about a lot of different receivers and potential, but I've already spent a full NFL season talking about the potential of somebody like Caleb Farley, and it amounts to what? Him playing a great deal in the 3rd preseason game, and Roger McCreary getting the starting spot. Like, potential, frankly, just doesn't mean that much to me until I see how it tangibly translates into actual football player ability.
Yeah, that's fair. And there's a lot of receivers on that roster that have had way more time in this system than Brew McCoy. Jalen Hyatt. I mean, even Squirrel White or Walker Merrill have had more practice time and have been ingrained in this system longer than Brew McCoy. And as far as experience goes, you've got 21 catches, 236 yards, 2 touchdowns in the 2020 COVID year.
Yeah.
He didn't play a snap for USC last year. So, yeah, I mean, it's all 6'3", 220 pounds, intangibles. So can he fit into the offense? He was a 5-star prospect, one of the highly rated receivers in his recruiting class. But that's all it is right now. You're right. There's no proof of concept of what he can do in the SEC. But I do think this staff was really excited to get him in. And they've been preparing as if he's 100% good to go, and now he is.
Offensive coordinator Alex Golish was talking about Brew McCoy the other day. This is what the Vols OC had to say.
Really good football player, has fit right into our culture, has added to our culture. Hardworking, tough, smart, really dynamic. To be honest with you, in a lot of ways, super, super grateful to be here and have another chance to do this and having a blast with it.
So that's Alex Golish, the Vols OC, talking about Brew McCoy, who was just recently made eligible, according to the NCAA and the transfer situation. Now, we talked to, who was it, Wes Rucker, I think, about this last week. And, basically the idea that this one has not been as clean because it's not a first-time transfer. Like, Brew McCoy's situation is not just complicated things for the University of Tennessee, but it has been a complicated process for him for a great many reasons.
Yeah, on and off the field.
So, with that being said, when I saw the news on Friday, there was not like a moment where I'm like, okay, this makes them better in a consequential way. Like, I clearly and obviously feel better about the wide receivers because Brew McCoy's a player. I just know that they have a variety of different options to choose from, but without the media, because they're not able to watch practice, right?
Not really, yeah. I mean,
so,
that time is pretty much up. Anything you do get to watch at this point are like stretches.
So like, what does that mean to me until I see an actual, semblance of a product? Because they didn't have an orange and white game this year. You've got Neyland Stadium. Is Neyland Stadium construction almost done?
Pretty much. I mean, It's good to go for you play on Thursday, so it better be done. But yeah, I mean,
that's why I was asking.
Yeah, they added the Jumbotron, they added the VOLS letter, they brought those back, but they just have more options there than they did a year ago, right? Like, it is crazy to think, but a year ago they literally had like 3 receivers that they could fully trust to run the offense and to keep it in rhythm and for there to be no drop-off. I feel like at this point, you bring back Cedric Tillman, and Jalen Hyatt has come much further along than he was a year ago, and Brew McCoy now factors in. Squirrel White has turned a lot of heads throughout camp. They love what they have in Walker Merrill. He probably would have played a lot more last year if he wasn't dinged up at points throughout the season. So there's just there are more options there that you didn't have a year ago. I don't know how many wins Brew McCoy's eligibility is worth. I guess we will find out.
Okay. Well, it's not like, we were talking about the Vols as a single-digit win team anyway. It's not like this is the thing that's going to tip them over.
No.
Tip the scales in favor of 10 wins this season, but certainly we'll look at them for 8 or 9 this year. What's their projected win total? We talked about Vandy's on Friday. We didn't talk about Tennessee's.
I believe I will look at right now on Superbook Sports, but I think it's 7.5 right there in that range. But I'll double check.
I'd bet the over on that.
Vanderbilt was 2.5. Do you bet the over on Vanderbilt after seeing what happened in week 0?
Well, I already took the under, so I'm not going to.
Oh, you took under 2.5?
Yeah, I said I couldn't find 3 wins.
You can only afford one more win.
I feel confident.
So what? You need him to.
At some point, the SEC is going to start, and then Vanderbilt.
Well, I put it out to a poll. Did the Hawaii game make you think Vanderbilt can win an SEC game?
Did you put that out for my account, or are you just doing your own polls now?
I put it on your account.
All right. What's been the response so far?
I don't know.
All right. Excellent.
I'm looking up something else.
615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Brett, are there still people on the phone line?
Yeah, Rick in Hendersonville.
Okay, let's talk to Rick in Hendersonville. What you got for us, Rick?
Hey, guys. A topic, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be Brett Kern. They say he probably has the 1 more year. He'll probably get a 1-year contract, and that will probably be with Buffalo. I wouldn't doubt a bit if he leaves his family here in Nashville to go play in Buffalo, doesn't uproot his family. I think all the kids have been born here.
No, you're right.
They like it here, and then he comes back.
Well,
what do you guys think?
I don't think he's getting his job back here. I think Brett Kern's time with the Titans
I think he needs to come back to live here when he's done.
No, Brett's building a house here. They're not going anywhere. Like they're currently, I think, in the process of construction right now. As a matter of fact, so like that Like the kids just started school. Like he's not going to uproot everybody to go to Buffalo for a football season for like 9 months. But like I said, I'm actively rooting for Brett Kern to get a Super Bowl out of this if he's ends up on a better contender than what he's got for the Titans, because I think they're about to stumble their way into a Pro Bowl punter.
Yeah, it's
all
crazy.
kinds of incompetence. It's a shame that the Bills, for what just happened with Matt Araiza, are probably going to get rewarded with a better player.
Yeah, that's a good point. And if it is the Bills, that is the Super Bowl favorite.
Yeah, no, there's no question. Will Compton of Bussin' with the Boys is going to be here with us in just about 5 minutes, and we're going to talk about what else happened in Week 0 of college football. His Nebraska Cornhuskers just blew it. Just blew it. There's no other way to say it. So we're going to make fun of him coming up next.
Buddy Allen.
You should have Will's number, Brett. I texted it to you.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Thursday with kickoff at
3 seconds. You're up.
At Buddy Allen Carpet One, they are the best in the business because of the focus they place on their customer service. That's how they've been doing business in Middle Tennessee as a locally owned and operated company by the Allen family for over 55 years. They're a full-service flooring company, but that does not mean that it will cost you more money. You can get experienced flooring work done by their company's professional certified installers and save while you do so. Buddy Allen Carpet One is located at 2405 Lebanon Pike in Donaldson, or check out all of their inventory online at BuddyAllenCarpet1.com. talking about Nebraska. Is Will on the line?
Will, I think, is avoiding us because he has missed my first 2 phone calls.
Uh-oh. You think he's scared? You
I'm
think
about
he's
to try him for a third time.
You think he's scared what we're going to do to him this morning?
He's definitely scared.
He already called me asking for business advice today, so I told him in return he had to come on the radio show. So we're going to publicly shame him for basically the next 20 minutes. Should he show his at least audio face, he's going to show up on the phone line at some point.
His coach is out here criticizing creativity and offensive play calling.
All right. Can I hear from Scott Frost in the meantime?
Well, what we're going to hear from Frost was about whether he would, if he knew the outcome, if he would call that onside kick again.
Yeah.
Yeah. In hindsight, didn't work. So anytime something doesn't work, we want it back. We've been talking to the kids about being aggressive and attacking this thing for weeks, and I think they did that. Part of it was we had a couple things that we wanted to be aggressive in. We had one earlier that we wanted to see if we got the look we wanted, and we got a look that is really good for it, and I made that call, so that's on me. At that point in the game, I thought all the run was on our side. I thought if we got it, we could end the game. And the way we were playing, I felt at that point like we had a really good chance of winning the game, and I felt like maybe we were the better team. And you can't really foresee them scoring 14 straight and us sputtering after we played well to start the second half on offense. So again, those are excuses. If I had it over, I would have made a call.
So that's Scott Frost, the Nebraska head coach, talking about how he helped his team choke away what looked like a clear and obvious victory in Dublin against Northwestern. I was screaming at my so I didn't see that they lost until I got into the Titans press box on Saturday.
You got Will Compton.
Oh, good. Is Will on the line? I didn't see that his team had lost until I was showing up in the Titans press box. I then FaceTimed him just to talk smack about how poorly that went. What have the last 48 hours been like for you?
Oh, Buck, here you go, just trying to gaslight me. The last 48 hours have been very up and down. I've thought about, taking my own life. I've also thought about not hitting the panic button. And what I'm choosing to do is I'm not going to hit the panic button because it's week 0. A lot of people argue that week doesn't even count. You saw my tweet, a game won, an American football game won on international soil doesn't count.
Is it like
and the
preseason?
way I want to look at it, yes, bro. Like let's think about it. We got to be able to watch the tape. We got to take accountability for what the black shirts really pissed me off. We got poor tackling, bad eyes, but those are correctable things. Again, we're not here to hit the panic button. If you want to lose any game in the season, it's week 0. It's the first week. Because now everything we want is still alive. 11-1 season, Big Ten title, national title. It's still there. We just got to regroup, beat the hell out of North Dakota, and we'll get back on track.
Will Compton, bussing with the boys, here with us on 104.5 The Zone. Will you give me an honest assessment in an FCC-safe way of what Scott Frost did in the third quarter with that onside kick? Are you comfortable criticizing him publicly this way?
No, I mean, yeah. Look, hindsight's always 20/20.
No. Not hindsight's 20/20. It was a terrible decision. Say it.
That was a abysmal decision to onside kick it in the third quarter. But you're in the moment. You're in the moment. Sometimes you don't. Your special teams. What I appreciate about Scott is he's taking the bullet. He's taking the rounds. I'm sure the special teams coach had a little plan. He's like, hey, let's try to hit him here. This is it. This is the look we want. Scott signs off on it. They do it. They don't get it. And then it's like, oh, here we go. I'm about to take 5 to the chest at this press conference because we didn't get this onside kick, and now I look ridiculous. Terrible call. We literally, I think we scored. I don't know how many unanswered, but you had all the momentum. It was 9 minutes.
Yeah.
9 minutes to go in the third quarter. You can't onside kick. But just like, again, not here to hit the panic button. I'm giving you an answer to the question that you asked.
Best one-loss team in the country?
I think so. I think if you check the stats, hang on. That's not like I get that you're laughing, but I think if you check the stats, Nebraska has the most consecutive single-digit losses of any team since 1936, since the stat was kept.
It really is. It's terrible luck,
is
what you exist in. It seems.
Dude, I'm telling you. So the argument is there that we are the best win-loss team of all time for now. We're also the greatest single-digit loss team of all time.
It's Reaper Day in the NFL. Does this trigger any PTSD for you? You've seen so many and lived through so many, and now you're enjoying this on the couch while you get ready to drop an Aaron Rodgers podcast that you already got scooped on, which is objectively funny. We'll talk about that later.
To be honest, Buck, when the 629 number called to get me on the radio and I saw that it was a number that I didn't recognize, there was a light panic of somebody's calling to cut me on the team. So, yeah, this day is like, it's a big emotional day, especially for all those dudes who are sitting around their phone figuring out what's happening. I did tweet earlier, like thoughts and prayers to everybody who's going to get cut tomorrow, but they still have to practice today because everybody at the end of the day right now who's still on the roster, they just want to know what their fate is. And it's like, yo, would you rather take 5 to the chest or 1 to the head? Like, let's get this. If I'm going, like, let's get this over with now. But your mind is literally running 100 miles an hour because all you're thinking about is hypotheticals on what the coaches are talking about in a separate room. And then you think about what the front office is talking about in another room. So, like, it's a very up and down day. It sucks to be a guy that's like on the bottom part of the roster because you're sitting there and you're waiting on your fate and you just grinded the entire month of August to like get to this point. So it's like, I've been on both sides. So where you feel good and then you're on the side where you're like, you can't stop pacing. Like you're trying to figure out, like if I'm on the team, but I'm trying to text and call you to see if you know anything throughout the entire day. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to get as much of an assessment as you can on the situation. So there's a lot of nerves, and I definitely feel for all the guys going through it right now.
You and I have been through one of those, I think, in the last couple of years at some point. Certainly that was what was taking place on my phone the last 2 days for a lot of people. So what did you make of Kern getting cut?
It's sad, man. I hate it. Like, I fully understand it. Like, I get that Kern is like, he's a product. He's going to get picked up fairly quickly, I'd assume.
Yeah.
But he's like a product who's like, he's a Pro Bowl punter. But he's been in the league. I forget how long. How long has he been in the league?
This is year 15.
Exactly, man. Like, that's incredible by him. And it's just like the sucky part of the business where you have Brett. You have a Pro Bowl punter this year, but you got a young guy who's got a lot of promise, who's got a cannon on for a leg, who can get better in areas that he might be lacking in. That it just takes a little bit of time. And so if you're the front office sitting there, you absolutely hate making that decision because you got a 15-year vet like Kern and somebody who I know is loved throughout the entire building. Like everyone is. If it's already happened, like everyone dreaded making that decision, having him come in, having that conversation. When I do feel like every side understands the result, it just doesn't make it any easier. Like Brett's a stud and a legend. I get the business move, and it's hard on everybody. It's one of those things I feel like is hard on everybody.
So after Saturday's loss, Scott Frost is now 15-30 at Nebraska. Bo Pelini was fired after going 67-27. If Frost wins his next 50 games consecutively, he would still have a worse record at Nebraska than Bo Pelini did.
You need to text that to Bo ASAP.
He already knows. I'm sure he's already very aware. He might not be aware, but I know his son will make him aware. Because it's one of those things where my relationships that go beyond Nebraska, that my relationships came from Nebraska, and now they're not there anymore. Like it's this thing where their kids have grown up since that decade long ago that I get messages about like, oh, it looks like Nebraska lost again. Like they're in their kids' little twisted mind, they're happy that Nebraska's failing. But it's one of those things like, I'm a Bo Pelini guy. So I always want revenge from when they fired Bo. I hate that it has to roll out like this because I think when you say a stat like that, that everyone in the very beginning was under the impression that this would take at least 3 or 4 years, that this could take 3 or 4 years. I know we are in year 5 now. Like if anything, you're like, all right, this could be like a 3-year-long leash, and you want to see it progress from there. I think last year it's one of those things when you look at the number and you look at the result, it's like it's same old Nebraska. But to me, somebody who was in it and watched them every week, like I joke about it, but we did lose all 9 of those losses by single digits, and I will beat that dead horse until it can't die anymore. But we legit, like last year, you could see it as like, all right, all those losses we had, single digits. We played like a few top 10 teams, like when those teams were ranked in the top 10, and we lost them close. So you can stand in that locker room and stand in front of people and say, like, we can play with everybody. We just need, we need one play here, one play there. This, to me, is the year that everything has to kind of come together to where he's kind of like, this is his last shot. But again, like when you say that stat comparing his record to Bo's, like he came into an absolute abysmal situation when Mike Riley had left Nebraska. So everybody knew he would take time. Bo inherited a lot of good recruiting classes from Callahan, like top 5, top 10 recruiting classes, to where Scott is inheriting whatever the hell Mike Riley
whatever was left.
Exactly. So it's like, as much as we can play into that and see that, like, yeah, that's a terrible situation to see. Like, that's a terrible stat if you're Scott Frost to look at. Like, damn, I could win the next 50, and it's still not as good as Bo Pelini. However, I don't want everybody to get caught up in all that comparison because it's a completely different team.
Will Compton @ Will Compton in the quest for what are you going for? How many followers? You want 1 million? Is that what you're trying to push for here?
1 million, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going for 1 million followers.
Do you know your total off the top of the head currently?
I want to say last I checked, I just hit 218.
You are at 218.2, so that's still quite a ways to get Will Compton to 1 million, but perhaps we will help him in this aspect. You've been busy. We haven't talked to you on the radio show in a long time. I haven't seen you personally. You became a dad. You are, you're drunk doing case races on Barstool live streams in New York on a regular basis. It feels like it has been some time since we've done this.
I know, man. I miss you. I've been seeing all the photos. You look incredible, by the way. Like,
oh, look at that.
I'm usually hard on you about your weight, but you really have done a good job slimming down. I've seen the workout videos, and it's one of those things where I watch from afar and I smile because I know you grind, bro. We're a bunch of glass eaters out here. So it has been a while, but I've been watching your success from afar, and I get proud.
200 by Super Bowl, Willie. Will Compton here with us on 104.5 The Zone. What can people look forward to for the Aaron Rodgers podcast that's going to drop when? Tomorrow?
Yeah, it drops tomorrow.
218,000 followers for Will.
Comes out at noon. That's a Central Time. But I had to ask the first initial question: is ayahuasca the key to success in the NFL? We get those answers. We talk about his relationship with LaFleur, which I thought he went on a really good explanation, like explaining that whole thing, because LaFleur had a situation on his episode that he talked about in Detroit where he got MF'd by Aaron for calling a timeout right before the delay of game. When LaFleur kind of learned that, oh, this dude really is in complete control all the way down to 0. So he kind of like gets in the weeds about the dynamic of what they had to navigate and grow on in the offseason to kind of build their relationship, being competitive in Green Bay, the locker room, and then we did a fun little start one, cut one, bench one at the end of the episode.
They're running through a bunch of inside linebackers around here at the facility. Am I going to have to start covering you professionally again? Because that sounds exhausting.
Dude, Buck, don't lie to yourself. If you saw Will Compton is coming in the workout or Will Compton is coming in to sign with the Titans, you would have a big grin on your face because you would be happy that that's how it went down.
Well.
However, it's still very hot. It's still very early in the process. I'm not itching to get back there and strap up the helmet. A lot of things are going well over here at Bussin headquarters. But, however, I say that every GM and coach knows that come December time, playoff Willie is going to be alive and well. If your chances are good to get into the playoffs, it could be a good move to bring the boy in as a mercenary.
Year 10. We know this in December.
Year 10.
I wore a Sellout Willie T-shirt to training camp the other day. We had Taylor on the show. In fact, I looked great. I hate the fact that they shrink that much, these shirts, these Bussin' shirts that you have when you wash them, but I frankly look fantastic in it. That is the only one. I know you have new merch, but that is the best merch that you have is the Sellout Willie T-shirt.
No. See, I was cringing at the way you were explaining that merch because that was such a one-off, create that and roll tee that, yeah, you had to get the cheaper material. But please do not paint a picture where everyone assumes that all of our merch shrinks a lot. We have
people are saying this. Many people are saying this.
Yeah, many people are saying that the merchandise shrinks when you bring it out of the dryer. However, there's a lot of good people making our merch right now. And what you can look for is comfort colors, nice, relaxed fit, doesn't shrink a whole lot. So I do appreciate kind of the shout out, no free shout out, but also let's not paint this picture that all of our merch is shrinks.
Thanks for coming on the radio
Yes, we
show,
do.
buddy.
If you're a Titans fan listening right now, you do need to go check out our Titans, the boys gear, our rollout, our football gear is out. It's incredible. Like we had a tee a couple years ago where lightning was screaming down the side. We had a little corny looking football in the middle. They sold well, but that was back in our incubation stage.
No,
Listen,
you had a full marketing display at the preseason game. Both Jack and Garrett were out there rocking the new gear.
Oh, exactly. And I hope everybody saw it. Like, it looks incredible. If you want to check it out, store.barstoolsports.com/Bussin' with the Boys. You'll see it right at the top. It's our whole new line. Obviously, we focus on the Tennessee Titans a lot. We have some sick, the Boys, retro-looking hats from the 90s that are in Oilers colors. We have black and white tees, your game day fit. It's going to go perfect. You're going to look beautiful. But go check us out, store.barstoolsports.com/Bussin' with the Boys.
That sounds like somebody who's been doing ad reads lately. Look at that. Will Compton, Bussin' with the Boys, there with us. Always a pleasure, buddy. Thank you for stopping by.
All right, thanks, Buck. Hey, I love you.
I love you too. Will Compton there with us on 104.5 The Zone. Just exhausted. I hope he doesn't come back here. I can't do it for another season. I just can't. It sounds like so much. What else do we need to address about the Titans? I feel like we haven't talked about this game that much at all. I think, do you want to talk about the backup quarterback situation? I mean, is there anything that changed your position about how you felt on the roster based on what you saw through these 3 games? Because honestly, I feel the exact same way I did about the roster, with the exception of I'm good with Malik as the 2. Everything else, I'm pretty steadfast on. I mean, I didn't see the Kern thing coming if you'd asked me early or end of July, but outside of that, there's been nothing earth-shattering that's changed about this team.
Yeah, I feel like Saturday's game sort of pushed that opinion over the line of, okay, if they keep 2 quarterbacks, then that feels acceptable, especially when you have Woodside that you can just put on the practice squad, and it's just not that high of a risk that he gets snatched up. And if he does, the improvement that Malik Willis showed through through a month of what's training camp, 5 weeks?
I think it ends up being about 6 weeks.
It was tangible. I mean, you could see it week to week, and I feel like Saturday's game can just kind of push your opinion over the line as far as your comfortability keeping 2 quarterbacks, which honestly I didn't think would even be a possibility before the start of training camp.
Well, let's hear from Mike Vrabel on backup quarterbacks. The head coach spoke at the podium yesterday. Titans are in the facility. There are some roster cuts being made, and they will practice tomorrow ahead of roster cuts at 3 p.m. Central Time. But here was Mike Vrabel at the podium.
No, I mean, I think that any of our backup players want to be ready to be able to go in a game and help us win. I think that's a process of, most of the time that's where they get their reps, is during that period once we're into the season. And we want them to play quarterback. We want them to operate as they were, that was their offense. So we try to make it, like I mentioned, as similar verbiage and terminology, and read this and do that. Sometimes back in the day, defensive coaches would circle where they wanted the ball thrown, and guys would be like, man, I can't, there's 3 guys covering, I can't throw the ball over there. And so it's just gotten to be just throw it to the guy that's open and let them all complain. And so I think that makes everybody better, that the quarterback can work the operation, the defense can see the play run as well as possible. So to answer your question, I don't think that's the first thing we look at is, how well that he can run a show team. That's not, they're going to.
Mics are on.
Season in doing that, primarily.
So that's Mike Vrabel talking about his backup quarterback situation yesterday, recapping the preseason game, the final preseason game with the Tennessee Titans. Now, the Titans have just made official the cutting of Brett Kern. John Robinson has issued a statement, which I'll read for you guys as soon as I open my email. John Robinson on Brett Kern. Brett embodies everything we look for in players for the Tennessee Titans. He's been at the top of his game for a long time in this league, has been an outstanding leader for us, and has been an excellent representation of the Titans in our community. I'm blessed to have worked with him, and on behalf of the entire organization, we wish him all the best moving forward.
And that was on the official transaction that was emailed out to all the media, which is obviously unusual. And they go down, and then there's a whole page about Kern's credentials and history with the Titans and his role in four playoff appearances. And yeah, it's a very pivotal day for the Titans franchise.
So we have not seen any new news on the Tennessee Titans and their roster construction. We'll keep you updated with that as new information becomes available. But we do have new information on the Tennessee Volunteers roster. It is game week. Voice of the Vols, Bob Kessling, going to be on the radio show tomorrow to get us ready for Ball State and Tennessee in Knoxville. But depth chart for the University of Tennessee is what we're going to talk about coming up next. Live from 104.5 The Zone's 2022 Summer Golf Classic at Greystone Golf Club. It's 104.5 The Zone.
This young gravy?
Ferguson HVAC.
Good guess, but no.
All right. We should have played some Young Gravy at some point today. I kind of want to go back and watch some VMAs now just to see if I have the same feeling as you do at this point. Blaine and Mickey are coming up next, 3HL after that, as we broadcast live from the golf club today. Last call for phone calls if you got them. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. 615-737-1045. We'll do some polls in about 5 minutes. We've got a depth chart for the University of Tennessee. Now, do they do the stupid thing that the Titans do where it's the unofficial depth chart put out by the actual organization?
They do not call it an unofficial depth chart.
Thank God.
They just call it the Tennessee depth chart.
Excellent.
Yeah, the unofficial thing is pretty comical. But a lot of oars, co-starters at left tackle, at wide receiver. You have Brew McCoy slotted right next to Walker Merrill as co-starters right now. No surprise at left tackle, Gerald Mincing, Jeremiah Crawford. We knew those guys were going to continue competing for that job into the season. By the way, did you see what Michigan is doing with their quarterback competition?
No.
Speaking of that, they're starting one guy week 1, one guy week 2, and then making a determination by week 3.
What?
Yeah. Have you ever? I've never heard of that.
Jim Harbaugh just doesn't care anymore. Like he flew up to Minnesota for that 9-hour interview with the Vikings. He didn't get it. He just didn't give a damn about recruiting while he was gone. So now he's just like, bleep it. I'm not doing anything else.
How soft does your early season schedule have to be for you to basically treat it like the preseason?
Hey, you know what? It'll make me watch Michigan football because I want to see what kind of science experiment he's running.
Well, they're playing Hawaii.
So, good.
If Vanderbilt can put
63
up 63
points
on Hawaii.
by Vandy.
Yeah, but they got Colorado State week 1, and then they got Hawaii week 2.
Unbelievable.
And they play UConn week 3, which was arguably the worst team in FBS a year ago.
Yeah, but who's the UConn coach now?
It is Mora, right?
Yeah, because he was like, I saw like a big piece in Sports Illustrated, The Athletic, written about Jim Mora at UConn and like how seriously he's taking it after they've been kind of, down bad. Their coach said last year's coach said he was going to retire at the end of the year. And the athletic department, the athletic administration just said, "No, you're done now." Like after that game,
Yeah.
it's all right. We appreciate your time.
Between J.J. McCarthy and Cade McNamara, I can't remember which one is starting week 1 or 2, but I've never seen that before.
Yeah, that's a new one for me.
But Tennessee with co-starters at middle linebacker, Jawan Mitchell, the Texas transfer, he got hurt last season after starting the first few games, and then Aaron Beasley stepped in and played fairly well. Those two guys are co-starters at middle linebacker. But the most interesting, Buck, is that corner where we knew Warren Burrell was in there as a surefire starter on one side. On the opposite side of that corner position, it is Kamal Haddon, the Auburn transfer, redshirt junior, and true sophomore Christian Charles, who played a good bit at safety for Tennessee a year ago as a true freshman, but has been slotted into a few different positions in the defensive backfield throughout training camp. But
their corners are long, man.
They're
6'1", 6 foot, 5'11".
D. Williams, the junior, is the backup to Warren Burrell. He's had a really good camp. No Brandon Turnage to be found on the depth chart. I found that interesting, the Alabama transfer.
Okay, so something to keep in mind as far as the depth charts are concerned. Again, it is game week for the University of Tennessee against Blaine Bishop's Ball State Cardinals. Chirp, chirp, mother bleeper. They are getting after it.
40 points?
Blaine has not been optimistic, I think is the best way we could put that. Yeah.
He thinks Tennessee covered.
It sounds like, Like what's the do you know the actual line on that game,
not
Blaine?
off the top of my head.
33?
Yeah, I think it was 33.5.
All right.
Something like that.
So Blaine said take Tennessee in the points. Jesus. 30. I've never put money on a 33-point favorite, and I'm tempted to now just for the payoff. It doesn't have to be a lot of money. Ugh, goodness. All right. Shall we do some polls, or is there anything else that we forgot to do today?
We shall do some polls.
All right, do it.
Not now, Jenny. I'm on the radio. Buck Rising gave me a job. Said something about a poll update. Hope that wasn't at that club where you became a folk singer. Anyway, Buck Rising's producer and correspondent has the final poll update. I'm not a smart man, but I know who Lucas Panzica is.
Of all the things that we do on the air, this is the thing I'm scared of most, getting us canceled.
Probably the most problematic.
The Forrest Gump impression.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford. Not the Forrest Gump impression, but the polls are presented by Two Rivers Ford. Custom order any new Ford on Two Rivers. They will deliver it to you as soon as it is manufactured. What do we definitively know about the Titans roster after the preseason? Derrick says O-line depth is awful.
I know that. It's not good. I feel okay about Jordan Roos. I think Dylan Radunz is all right as a depth piece, as you kind of figure out where exactly he is the depth for. And beyond that, I don't think that much of what they have has been very comforting so far. But what I do know is that Malik Willis should and likely is QB2 on the roster, and that Woodside, I think, is still going to end up on the roster in some form or fashion.
Yeah, McAllen Bell says he knows that Malik Willis went way too late in the draft.
Man, I did see a couple of those tweets from people, and, you're doing it with the results in hand, and it's a lot easier for people to look good in the preseason, for sure. But the idea that the NFL let Malik Willis slip to the third round, and that he's out here running for 50 yards while he's getting run blitzed by the Cardinals, and he's throwing darts while he's getting absolutely hammered with, like, Matt Stafford arm angles on that touchdown pass. There is a lot. I mean, it's the entire scouting report. The guy could be a first-round player if he was more refined at the position, and they are currently working through that refinement right now.
David says the preseason taught him that the wide receiver position will be a lot better and deeper.
I don't know about better. It's definitely deeper. For sure deeper. But, I can't objectively say better.
Didn't really talk about this, but do you blame Kenny Golladay for mailing it in during the Giants preseason? 60% say no.
I mailed it in during the preseason. I'm going to admit it on the air. I mailed it in during the preseason. I don't blame Kenny Golladay at all for mailing it in during the preseason.
Who do you expect to be wide receiver 2 for the Vols? Brew McCoy or Jalen Hyatt? 54% said Brew McCoy. 42% said Jalen Hyatt. If you look at the depth chart, Hyatt is listed as a starter in the slot. So you got Cedric Tillman, Jalen Hyatt, and then Brew McCoy or Walker Merrill.
Interesting.
After watching the win over Hawaii, do you think Vandy can win an SEC game this year? 52% say yes.
I hate to actively root against. That's not true. I'm rooting for me to be wrong, because I said that Vandy would not win 3 games this year, and they, of course, put 63 points on their week 1 opponent, and now they play the mighty Elon Phoenix coming up as their home opener, so we'll see what happens with Vanderbilt. But to see them win an SEC game this year, I think would still be surprising.
It would be surprising. Eric says maybe Missouri.
Maybe Missouri. I'll take him on that. Maybe Missouri. Wake Forest in week 3, honestly, is pretty interesting.
It is interesting. Obviously, no Sam Hartman at Wake Forest. Vanderbilt does have to go to Missouri. That game is on October 22nd, so we will see. But I am curious to see just how bad Hawaii is this season.
Hawaii clearly stinks.
I don't want to take anything away from Vanderbilt because, like I said, they would not have beaten anybody in the country like they did to Hawaii last year. But still, that Hawaii-Michigan game, I wonder how many points Michigan will put up.
Yeah.
Does Scott Frost make it to the end of the season at Nebraska? 83% say no.
To the end of the season at Nebraska, it does not seem like it's trending that way. It's not like he's going to have an easier time in the Big Ten. This is like Maryland in the Big Ten. Like your balance, you have balanced your budget because of the nature of the television money, but you just have forsaken any chance of being competitive against Big Ten competition. You're not going to have any excitement. Your fan base doesn't care about your now, quote-unquote, regional opponents or your conference opponents because they're not regional at all. Like Nebraska, I feel like the same thing in the Big Ten, even though, how long have they been in the Big Ten from the Big 12?
Oh, gosh. I can't remember.
It's been a while.
I think maybe like 2012 they made that move.
It's been a while.
Nebraska fans are one of the most potent fan bases in all of college football.
They flew to Ireland. They flew to Ireland to watch their team blow it.
The irony with Scott Frost when he said, we couldn't have foreseen Northwestern coming back from down 11. Like,
I know why? Because they were sacrificed running on 3rd down.
I know he can't think that way as the head coach, but everybody could have foreseen Nebraska blowing another double-digit lead in the second half.
Will Compton mourned the loss on the radio show earlier. If you missed any of the work that we did today with the Wild Feathers or Will, check out the podcast, The Buck Rising Show.
Those are the polls.
Excellent. That is our show. From Greystone Golf Club, where 104.5 The Zone is broadcasting live all day long. Blaine and Mickey coming up next. I'm on 3HL a little later, and we'll talk more Titans then. Have a fantastic rest of your Monday, and I'll talk to you tonight on A to Z Sports Primetime.
Hey, Buck, Young Gravy is taking us out, by the way.
Excellent. Love that for us, Brett. Well done. I have no words. See ya.